And in my class, you must talk. I'm sorry. So in my trainings, at some point, you don't have a choice but to be talk. So be very alert. It's good. Let me just send the warning in advance. I have to make sure everybody has, okay, something. You say something. So when you hear a question that you can give quickly, give a response. Be very quick to give it, because I might pick you on something you don't know. So I hope you've received the warning, but all in all, there is no wrong answer, there is no wrong answer actually. So just say what you think. It's an open forum, you're here to learn, isn't it? And pick from each other's experiences. So what is the role of the retirement benefits? Next slide. If you can put it on full screen. Yeah, first we regulate. We regulate the retirement benefit sector. How do we do that? It's by ensuring that if you're registering any pension scheme in Kenya, then you must be registered by RBA. We have types of pension schemes, I'll get to that, but we also have people we call service providers. For you to provide a service to a retirement benefit scheme, then you must be registered by RBA. So that is how we regulate the retirement sector. Then we have, we protect interest of members of the schemes and the sponsors. Now, when I use the word sponsor, please note, in the retirement sector, we knew the word sponsor way back before you corrupted it. Our young people. So, the word sponsor in retirement benefits purely means employer. So, it is used a lot. Sometimes I even forget to say employer because we are so used to the word sponsor. So, in this context, sponsor means employer. Sawa sawa? Tuko pamoja? Please, when either your neighbors come back, what's her name? Esther.
Yeah.
Are we together? Thank you. So we protect the interest. So when as you save your money in the retirement scheme, NSSF, we also regulate NSSF, by the way. So we ensure that they operate within certain borders. Now, promote the development of the industry. We actually encourage innovation. If you have an idea, something that can make the sector better, we actually promote innovation. So on that case, on that particular one, I will tell you the kind of innovations that have come up during my presentation. We advise the CS Treasury. We are under the Ministry of National Treasury, where we advise on matters policy, and when the policies are adopted, it is our work to implement them within the sector. Next slide. Why you need to save for the retirement, for your golden years. You can go to the next slide. Now, some of you say you take care of your parents. How many have children today? Good. Now, fast forward to now you're 20-something or 30, let's say 30. Your child is probably 5 years, add another 30 years. There are the people sitting here. Now you're already at 60. I mean, you're towards the retirement age, yeah? So the question is, how many of you are so sure their children will take care of them? Who can stand up and say, I am sure my child will take care of me? What, you're not? Okay, you say you're taking care of your parents. What kind of children then are you raising that you're so sure they will not take care of you? You see, the kind of confidence your parents have in you, it's not the kind of confidence you have in your children. It's because of the way the world is evolving. People are changing. Lifestyles are completely changing. So who are you going to depend on when it comes to your retirement? So you fast forward 30 or 35 years from now, and you realize even maybe the kind of company you used to keep is not the same. Friends, the relatives, everybody is living their life. Now, thirdly is that nowadays, of course, you cannot rely on the family unit. In fact, you can even rely more on your friends than your family. True or false? True. And if you want to know how it is so difficult to rely on people, just ask somebody. One time, like we've had the corona season, yeah? You're so broke. Let's tell somebody, by the way, I just need 10K. We should after 10K, 10,000. Everybody is telling you, Sina. Really. But I don't know why it feels bad when you ask for somebody, like you you ask for some money, yes, and then you see the same person on Instagram updating, eating something, do you know your kitchen now, that same person you ask for 10,000, and from the Hana. You know what you do on the Instagram page? What? Oh, unashindwa. Engine pesa hana ya ukwe ama amekunyima. You know, no, sometimes the Instagram live, wale wanacheka is because they know that's what they do. It's either you don't trust that person who might give you that money, or maybe they will go make a kudoya. Okay. So filling your Instagram page is a priority.
It is not a priority.
But it's alone, you're not. Yeah, so you're just helping me sort a small problem in the meantime. And then, I mean, I'll refund the money. But if you're that person, just know, it is the truth. So if you know somebody has covered you some money and you're not giving them, please just don't update your Instagram live. Don't post them after 5 days. Then it becomes a TBT, isn't it? Now, you need to have a reasonable income at your working life. You need to at least know how you're going to provide for your basic needs. What will you eat? And you know, during old age is when all manner of diseases attack you because of the immunity system being low. The immunity goes. It's not the same as now. You could see when Corona came the way Italy people were really affected. And the one reason I came to understand about why Italy was highly affected is because majority of its population is in the older category. So when in the older category, you tend to, your immunity is lowered, so you tend to be attacked by very many diseases. So the question is, how have you prepared for that? If you cannot even trust your children to give you pocket money, how do you trust them to treat you? Okay, let's raise a better generation. Without going to the next slide, you can go back a bit. We conducted a survey at some time back, and probably you can tell me, today when you get your money, you've done your expenses, you've done your profit loss account, all those things, you have Simona Jilipa. You pay yourself a salary, isn't it? As much as it's your company. Sindio? Ama mujilipi? Adam? How does it work? I'm not an entrepreneur. Maybe educate me. You pay yourself a salary at the end of the day. So the question is, what are your top priorities? Yes, we talked about priorities. You get your money like this. Your 100,000, 200, your million salary in a year per account. What is the first thing you pay for? Which includes? So ideally rent is the first thing. Then you go to electricity, then you go to water. Nowadays internet is part and parcel. It's like water in the house. You can't do without internet. DSTV, priorities I tell you. What will you pay for? Your name please? Winnie. Your name first?
My name is Simon.
What will be your priority after rent? And the utility bills, now you've already paid that.
Actually, for us, the biggest priority is salary. Because most of the work is done by staff outside.
Yes.
So the quality of work is how you handle it.
Yes, of course, we understand. Now assume you've already paid them, you've also paid yourself. So you've gotten your money, first thing you've paid is rent, assuming you don't have your own house, or you're not living in your parents' house. So once you've already paid rent, what's the next thing that you'll pay for? From your salary?
From my salary?
Yes.
The next thing once you pay rent, the normal things that are required. That is all for the sort of consistency.
Okay. If you have kids?
Yeah, so of course the school fee is there. And major the school fees, the major external activity.
Okay.
Then major the those ones, because schools fee caps are closed, including other people who are not getting.
We'll come to that. Which other, how else do you spend your money? Apart from they said you pay rent, she didn't even say food, she said bills. So next, of course, the for school fees, but at the cooler. Next, what do you pay for? Entertainment. Pigia Winnie pole. Kimone. What do you pay for next? Okay,
But the moment you think of the babies and the you get to see and then usually the year marafiki like that.
Marafiki kwa hiyo equation. Politician. Business people don't just please people for the sake of it. Politicians do. It's not of Wenena, you prayed for us. What can you remind me your name? Boniface. We paid rent, we paid utilities, entertainment, we made liquor, food is there. School fees has already been paid. What is next to pay?
So basically for me it's different because before you first of all pay the utility, there is that automatic cash cut for the health insurance and NSS. That's the first priority. Then the rest money comes, then start by the utilities, food stuff, rent.
How many of you believe in that theory of one fast? You pay NSF, you put your money aside, the savings where you need to put statutory payments from your own salary. Remember, you're self-employed. You voluntarily take it from your salary, you remit, and then now the balance, you start checking. Now let me pay rent, let me pay school fees. How many believe in that theory? Okay. Of course, it's the other way around, isn't it? You are the true Kenyan, I tell you. True Kenyan spirit.
I think you can't run away from them because you find workers that require a certificate from them. So they have become it's coming into a way for you it's not part of the salary.
It's not
so it becomes the company fee.
I thought it was a deliberate attempt to say, but even really I'm under the So, where's this one? Is it connected to your laptop? Just go to the next slide as we research about it today. Now, when we did this research, these were the priority items that were given. People consider rent, food, household bills, transport. I was so surprised nobody talked about tithes. I was waiting one fast to say tithes. Because I said, there's not cash, I thought it's 10%. Wow, company and NSSF. Tithes, you need that.
Some of us will be using laser.
The tithes should come from whatever you're earning. If you're earning 10 shillings, you give 1 shilling. If you're earning 100 shillings, you give 10 shillings. But imagine you get a tender of 10 million. Are you going to give away 1 million to the church? Why don't you don't trust our pastor?
The tender is one.
Yes, certificate. I will bring your name again. And Richard and Timone, entertainment is part of what people actually spend on a lot. And then lastly, savings. People want to spend fast completely. Ile yabaki is what they want to save. When in reality, the table should be like this. Savings should be there. You first save, and then the balance is what you spend. But at the Kenyan spirit, we always do tables. By the way, you will always find a reason to spend. Today, even if I give you 10,000, trust me by tomorrow you will not have that money. And yet, sasa hivi ndo umekaa hapa, hakuna mtu amekuitisha 10,000. Nothing, you were supposed to. But hiyo pesa ukishashika hivi, haitasimama. That's when you remember, acha nipitie hapa. I don't know this story in town. That's when you remember kuna chips, scoop and fried is not eaten, pizza in.
Yeah.
Yes, you.
I noticed something. Your survey did not capture this WhatsApp contribution.
Oh my goodness. I think it was that way back before WhatsApp was a major thing. But let me tell you, that culture.
You don't get that.
Every time in fact, I personally had to make my WhatsApp invitation private because that's private thing.
Yeah.
If you're inviting me to a group, I must agree to it. You keep inviting somebody is not talking for 20 years, 15 years. How do I come into your wedding contribution? Surely. Let's be realistic. Yes, that's the video to me. Anyway, so the bottom line is saving has never been really considered as a priority when it comes to spending. So what I want to plead with you today, go and think about it. Maybe you just need to tell yourself, I want to be saving 10,000 every month. You take away the 10,000, you put it aside. Then the balance, you use it however you please. If you're a higher earner, make more saving. It goes for making more savings because they also say when you're given more money, you're given more duties, more responsibilities. So also save more, okay? Because you need to maintain, we'll come to that. And next slide. Now, I know most of us are either, for those who've been employed before, you're either employed on permanent okay, I'm talking to CEOs. Has anyone been employed before? Worked for somebody? What were your terms of engagement? You can just share because you're no longer. Simona, we can start with you.
No problem. I was a PNP in government. Yeah, and that was not the government. I was director of the business.
Director? Yes, director. So, a little bit, okay, you are in PNP terms. You left service, of course, because it's always better to be self-employed. So you are contributing to a pension scheme somewhere. All right. And anybody else who's been employed on contract, let's go to the back. In a black jacket, suit, on the far right. It's you. There's nobody behind you. Your name, please. It's a gentleman and a lady. I was looking at the gentleman, but since you say it's you, is lucky, we go to Natalie. The question is, have you been employed before?
Yes, I have.
What were your terms of engagement? Contract, permanent, pensionable?
On contract basis.
All right. Contract, did you have gratuity as a term of service?
Yes. Yes, I did.
You're getting gratuity. At what percentage? You can't remember. Anybody who remembers if you've been employed on gratuity? Yes, please, in front of Natalie. Joanne? Basic. So if your basic is 100,000, you look at 1% for the period that is for 12 months times the number of years. Let's say if it's 5 years, so you get your gratuity, which is normally paid as a lump sum. So people who earn gratuity actually get a lot of money as compared to the ones in pension. And then it's normally paid as a lump sum. So umemaliza 5 years, kidogo kidogo unapewa 5 million. That's your gratuity at the end of contract. Now for pension, you contribute you contribute something, your employer contributes something. So at the end of the day, you will access it at a particular time, and it has certain conditions as to when you can access. But bottom line, it is expected that you will access at retirement. Now, in the interest of time, I think I want to finish at 11:15, but I think I forgot. I got carried away with the conversation. But I want to quickly tell you the advantages of having a gratuity and a pension. Now, in gratuity, when you're given that paid gratuity, your tax pay at 30%. And it once happened to me, tax pay that money, you feel like crying. When I say what your finance are both low, it's a lot of money, 30%. So if you have 100,000, someone takes away 30K. 30K. You are working as a savings. So if it's in millions, you lose 30% of 5 million, it's a lot of money. It reaches hard and it reaches thoroughly. So, and then benefits are payable, depending on the salary, of course. They can be earned because of inflation. Because at the end of the day, the gratuity you get is the percentage. They don't give you as an investment that this money has been invested, here's the profit. No, you take exactly what you signed up for. And then it's part of the sponsor's resources. If you have any loan with the employer, they will slash it from your gratuity before they pay you. Okay? So they will take you out, then they give you the balance. It's not contributory, that's an advantage because remember, you're not deducted in salary, it's just purely the employer giving you money for their resources. Now, for the retirement scheme, there are several taxes, which I'll show you in the course of my presentation. Dependent on contribution and investment income, if you make a contribution to your scheme, that money is invested. So you will expect interest at the end of the 5-year period that you've contributed. Then enhanced by investment income definitely. Then dependent on the employer, it is held in trust. The employer cannot touch it. And then members contribute. So that's negative because you have to give something, the employer is also giving something in return. Alright, next slide. Now, why I want you to save through a pension scheme and not through a bank or through a SACCO? I know there are many ways of saving, but why do I want you to save through a pension scheme? Some of the tax advantages are as follows. When you make a contribution, 20,000% is tax free. So, anytime you hear government exempting you from tax, if you can take advantage of it, please quickly run for it. Because the number of taxes we are paying, the amount of money that goes to taxes is quite, and lately they introduced the digital tax. Where are the influencers? I don't know how they will determine the income received by an influencer for them to tax it. But bottom line, what they are saying is like, I think they're even targeting online businesses. If you've been advertising on Instagram, you're not paying rent, you're not paying anybody, it's all your income, now it's going to be taxed. And sometimes, anyway, let me not get to private company business. But point being, taxes are everywhere. So when you get a chance to be tax exempt from something, please just grab that chance very quickly. So if you're able to put aside 20,000 in a month, so at the end of the day, when you're filing your income tax returns or for your company, then before, so you have payslips, I believe in your companies, you're well established, you have good systems, where you're deducting NHIF and SSF. So before you do all those deductions, or before you do pay deduction, you first remove the VAT, 20 that the member is contributing or the employer is contributing. But the 20% is normally to the member. But if the member is not exhausted with 20,000, the employer can take advantage of that, they pay less tax. So if the member is paying 5,000, it is a balance of 15 that is still tax exempt. So as an employer, if you are contributing a further 5,000, that in your books will be tax exempt. If the loan is within the limit of 20,000. Now, gratuity, if you are getting gratuity, instead of assessing it, you can transfer the revenue to a retirement benefit scheme. And if you do, they exempt 20,000 per month, which is 240 per year. So for the number of years times 5, that amount will be tax exempt. Okay? So the balance is what will be taxed according to the, if you put it all in the scheme, you will be taxed according to the favorable tax rates you have in the scheme. Because it's not only gradual. It's not that 30% maramoja. It's 10, 15, 20, 25. I'm not an expert in tax, so I don't want to go into deeper details. But on the success of it, that is what I can communicate. When it comes to investment income, you pay corporation tax. In the pension scheme, if you put your money there, they don't pay corporation tax for those for that investment they make. So it's also another tax advantage. Now, by the time you're earning your monthly pension, anything 25,000 and below is tax free, regardless of your age. Regardless of the amount of money you're earning. If you earn over and above 25, it will be taxed at favorable rates, but up to 25,000 is tax free. At the age of 65 years, it used to be the pension is tax free, but recently something happened and the lump sum was removed. So for now, we can say after 65, the pension is tax free. When you access your pension after the age of 65, everything, whether you're earning 300,000, it will be tax free. We used to have also the lump sum, but somebody cunningly, I don't know whether intentionally or otherwise, removed the right lump sum. So they are still working on how we can have it retained. Then we have members of, you can have access to pension-backed mortgages. And recently, part of the development of the industry, you can use a portion of the retirement benefits to purchase a residential house. So these are some of the advantages. I could go into detail, but I feel like we are running out of time. But basically, what we're trying to say, you can use your pension benefits up to 60% of what you have to go to a financial institution to guarantee, to give you, to act like security for a mortgage loan that you're taking with that financial institution. Okay? So the more you've saved, the better it is for you, because you have better security to give to the financial institution. Then we have post-retirement medical benefits. This is also a new product, it's not sold in the industry. Here is where we're telling you, you can start saving, making additional voluntary contribution for purposes of your medical. We've said at old age we have very many medical issues. So what we're saying is that if you save now towards that medical kit, at retirement, can you imagine, you don't have to ask anybody to cheat, you don't have to go begging or fire jungle, because you already have a kit that will take care of the medical issue. Okay? And that kit you can use it to either purchase a cover, use it to pay medical expenses directly. You can even transfer to NHIS, they give you a deal for a cover to use for that annual, to get an annual medical cover. So it's advantageous if you go through the pension scheme. So from an employer perspective, next slide. Why would I want you to establish a scheme? First, you need to attract and retain skilled people. So if today you got an employer, you got 2 levels of employment, the one on company or court and company, or court and prepare, and compare this to any benefits. This is what I can give you. Net salary, taxes, only really NSS, NHIS, then minimum. Then you go to the one and company, you want to stay here and contribute to your pension. I will do everything. Which one would you go for? Of course, tomorrow, yeah, because of the benefits. So sometimes, even people work in government might not be happy with the salary, but they stick because of the benefits. The benefits that come without employment, they make you continue staying because you don't know who else can match that kind of benefit elsewhere. The other thing is to reward and motivate workers. You don't want to your workers have been working so hard for you, they are making very good income for you, but you're not taking care of their future. Yeah? So if you're not taking care of their future, not to I don't want to sound mean, but in the Kenyan style, the Asians most of the time, their terms of conditions of working are interesting, isn't it? So what I would say is this: can you imagine you've employed somebody for the past 20 years, and then when they're leaving, you're just giving them 15,000. Yeah? How will they? They've worked 20,000 last time. So that's something you also need to bear in mind. It's not just about you. Because without those people, you are nothing. True or false? Yeah? Without those workers, let me tell you, even without that cleaner, your office first of all will be that. Yeah? Without the person signing duty, you'll be angry and angry at the same time. It has an impact. It doesn't matter what that somebody does, but they are contributing towards you generating income. Please think about their future. You don't want them to leave your company and then they have nowhere to start, they have nothing to start with, and then, I mean, it should feel like a passing life, to be honest. Don't let somebody dedicate their entire life to you, and then they just go without nothing. Please, take that into consideration as employers. Next slide. Positive employer image. You are, I mean, people will say this company at this star of the employees. No, there are those companies even today. If you're told to go and work for them, see, rather going to hustle, never do a financial. Because even from how the friends talk about the employment terms, I want to say, okay, I wouldn't mind if I'm able to do this and still do my side hustle. Why not? Isn't it? I remember, for example, when Mbuvi passed, and they were highlighting the things they had done for Safaricom. One thing that really stood out for me is the maternity leave of the workers in that institution. I don't know, they did 6 months. 6 months. Who gives you 6 months of maternity leave? And then they have a mother room, they have a breastfeeding room, they have a play room, they have daycare. Yes, it was daycare. My goodness. Anybody, I mean, sitting in that circumstance, I mean, if you've been in that situation, I'm talking now from another perspective, if you find an employer giving you such kind of benefits, it's reason for you to actually then want to move them. Because you feel like your well-being is catered for. So you see now, Safaricom in my eyes, Safaricom is a good employer, isn't it? The same way, if your company is talked about positively, how you treat your workers, how you handle them, how you relate, it gives an image. So, with you taking care of their retirement is already a positive image to you as an employer. Okay? Social responsibility. We are all participating in reducing poverty because you know this scheme that they introduced that Winnie was saying. Do you have any of your relatives, uncles, aunties, parents getting the 4,000 shillings, 3,000? Is it 4,000?
It's 2,000 but it comes after 2 months.
Oh, it comes after 2 months, so it's 4,000. So can you imagine? And have you ever seen the way they queue for that money? Picture yourself in that situation. You're just waiting for that 2,000 because you have no other means of survival. You'd rather wait in that queue, even if it's for 2 days, than to go home without that money. It is that serious. So the area you start thinking about it today, the better it is for you. Okay? Lastly, from an employee perspective, what are you going to gain out of this? It's like the tax advantages we talked about, which I don't want to repeat. Preventing old age poverty, that is in black and white, I mean it's straightforward. It's a contingency fund in case of illness. In retirement saving, when you save, if you retire on grounds of ill health, you are allowed to access the money called fund. Because now you are no longer able to do what you normally do for a living. So it is a contingency plan for you because if you didn't have any other means, if you have exhausted every other source of income you have, the last thing you have is your retirement benefit. Now, avoid disruptions of living standards. What are we trying to say? If today you're driving a V8, there's somebody, we talked about people owning big cars. How many people can sustain the life of big cars?
Very few.
And there are people having for loans, and they have big cars,
Yeah.
and they're having to go how much? To sell the car.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, you've taken logbook, umeenda kuchukua loan ya 100,000, for instance.
2 million. Yes, sir.
Logbook every. Even if you're taking 1 million, even 2 million. I mean, first of all, I'm not a financial expert, but I know a car is a liability. The moment you take a car, you go and take a Mercedes from the showroom, ufikishe tu Westlands, upige na about, ukienda kuzia mtu, you don't sell it at the same price. Even the same shop, it will drop. It drops immediately. A good example is, if you've invested, let's say in property or in some business, if you look at the car you bought, the value of the car and the value of the business or the property you bought, and if it happens you bought them almost around the same time, or even bought that land or that invested in that business 2 years later after buying the car, the value, I'm very sure the value of that other asset is higher than that car that you bought. So, if you want to maintain the occult status, we know how, it's a lifestyle, you know. If you want to maintain it, please make sure you have saved for it. Because you don't want to be driving a V8 in your working life. When you retire, you go back to drive watu kwa boda. Wewe ndio unadrop watu kijiji huko na chuai. Yeah? So the bottom, what I'm trying to say is that you have to start now. Savings will start today. So that by that time, by the time you're retiring, you're still living the same comfortable life you lived during your working life. There's something we call income replacement ratio. At least you should be 70%. What you're earning today, you should be able to earn that 70% of that when you retire. So how are you going to reach that 70% goal? So that if, for instance, you're earning 100,000 today, you should be able, in your retirement, not to earn anything less than 70,000, for instance, yeah, or 50,000, give or take. So you must start thinking. You work backwards. If you want to be earning that 50 or 70, then you have to work backwards. What do I need to save today to be able to get to that target? Okay. Then safety net in case, okay, use of secure, application that Mbuvi talked about in a residential house. That one was very recent. We'll be doing sensitizations countrywide. So when you see an advert, because it's public sensitization, we don't really do that yet. When you see RBA advertised for sensitization, just come and attend. It doesn't cost you anything. If you have the time, or please just set apart the time, just come and hear what you have to say. Because there's a lot you can take home that you actually need. Every day is a learning day, isn't it? So for that, it's still new, and it's something that we go around the country participating. If you're coming, especially, I know most of the time Mombasa, Kisumu is a must, Nairobi is a must, these big cities. Then we go to Eldoret, probably Nakuru, probably also Nyeri, Meru. I don't really Meru most of the time. Machakos. We try to be somewhere central, but of course you can't go to 47 counties. But we try as much as possible to reach out to as many people as we can. Safety nets, those people today who are affected by corona and who are saved money protection scheme. At least they will take away what they have contributed and 50% of what the employer contributed for them. So you can imagine if you didn't have that pension, where would you start? How many people have moved houses? People have downgraded and downgraded for real. The other day, I was helping my friend look for a house. The houses in the area. That house, the last time we checked, it was going for 90,000. It was 3 bedrooms. But now, we were just passing, and then we said, yeah. I'm seeing some empty houses. What have we found out? It's like half of it is empty. So we find out how much is the price. The price has come down to 55. It is that serious. People have downgraded. People have been affected. Income has been lost. So if you did not plan, now this one is like become a shock absorbers. Yeah. So in case something happens, the way CEO was saying. If you're fired today, if you're told, if your company, you woke up in the morning, some malicious person has raised everything down, all the documents, system, nothing, ashes, where do you start from? So the question is, are you prepared for such instances? So you might not be in employment, but you as the employer, if something was to happen today, yeah, and you lose everything, where do you start? Trust me, the only thing we have is the savings that you have made. will be your starting point. So, also offering financial protection to your parents in case you are saving in a pension scheme. The money that you save, if anything happens to you, it's money goes to your parents. So, when any is set in America, correct? Whatever happens, if you don't utilize it, your dependents will normally utilize that money. And one thing you need to know about pension is this. For you to access, if you've been in that circumstance or you know someone who's been in that circumstance, if you have saved money in the pension scheme, you don't need letters of administration to access it. You can actually access it without having to go to court. You just need to know who the trustees are. You provide evidence of maybe the parents or the guardian passing on. You prove that you're the dependent, and they pay you the money. You prove that you're a spouse and these are the children, they'll pay you the money. Okay? So for pension, it is not as complicated as the other institutions. Like for you to access a bank account and a pass, in Pakistan, you must go through the court process for you to access that account. So it is key. So for pension, there is that benefit that you don't have to go through those tedious processes. Now, what barriers do we have? Of course, nothing is perfect. Everything looks like Nimaua, but there are also things that bar us from this area. What we're saying behind independence syndrome. This thing of mchango. Day in, day out, you're being invited. If it's not a wedding, it is a funeral. If it's not a funeral, it's a medical bill. Oh, how do you find? There's this story. Have you ever been in a situation where there's a man and wife has been pregnant for 9 months, and somebody goes to they have an emergency that mama makes so good. And I can't say I can tell hospital. 9 months. Where are you? How is that an emergency again? Listen, 9 months. Emergency. All of a sudden, the baby now has been born. It is urgent. Better than who are the things really diaper showing. How can you go that and practice? Okay, it depends which one. Is it the CEO ones?
You have received those programs.
Of course, it has never happened. Like, unless the baby is so premature, like 5 months, 6 months, But for 9 good months, you know this baby is coming. And then all of a sudden, you're telling us it's an emergency. That's me. I promise you I have that money in the power of your unless it's a factor that's really, you can clearly see something very went wrong, or you lost a job, or, there are those things you can understand. But for a bigger actually, when the emergency action socialization, even that, that's why those are the small things that make you not safe. Because you're so concerned about other people, you're helping, you're active, kila siku tusaidie. You're not a charity organization. Please take us.
You're making this look too bad. And especially now that I need to add our CEO here to some group. So say I am 30. I'm not 30. I say I am 30. I have had my 30 years and now I want to marry, so I have to invite you to a group. So you want to tell me it's not an marriage? I have had that years to prepare for my wedding. Yeah? So, is it not bad?
No, it's not that years. Even sometimes you are not really sure you get married, isn't it? Why don't you have an occasion that is within your means? Right. Let the friend support you according to their will, like I said. Behind is my friend, and he's having a very wonderful ceremony. I should support him as a friend. But if I'm not going to a group and but ignore my way.
I mean, you're saying a friend, but then you're not that kind of friend, so there's a mismatch. But really, I'm getting the point.
If I'm not that kind of friend, then I'm not your friend. If you're my friend, I will feel that need to support you. if I'm not supporting you, then I don't consider you to be that close to me. Maybe you're considering I'm close to you, but I don't think I'm close to you. You could be considering you see you to be your close friend, but he does not consider you as close friend. So it depends. Yeah, time up. So I'm on my last slide. Or we can finish there and I can start on the next slide as I proceed with the other one. But let me finish this one. Immediate gratification. You get money, balance umeangalia kwa ATM, ni ngapi? Kemo mami. Leo sasa. Leo sasa watu wa makanga. Najua next week payday inafika. All joints are full. People can't breathe because it has been too long. So everybody is just waiting. We get really so that's immediate gratification. Can you imagine if you spend that those people say that you must take 2 beers a day, 3 beers a day? Zimbabwe. I know you're here. And I'm speaking to you directly. 3 beers a day, 4 beers a day, times how much is a beer nowadays? About 250, 300?
How did you know the price?
I'm a young person. Once in a while, I've also been misled. I'm not perfect.
It's about there.
So let's work with it's been 250. People take 250 is not too bad. So at 250 times 4 beers every day, that's $1,000. Times 7 or even 6 days a week. So assume that moja was dedicated to that stress. It's a movie like. Let's assume there is a day you say today I'm going to church, I take my kids for that. If you don't have kids, just sit at home and just chill. Let's use it. Give you some benefit of that. 6,000 times 4. In a year. So, the same way in a year, who's spending 1,000 a day is saving 200 shillings in NSSF. Where are the priorities? Now, take 200 shillings that you're required to save in NSSF at the moment, times 2, assuming it's 400. 400 shillings in a month. Every month, actually, you're contributing 400 every month. In 12 months, you only have 4,800. For you to raise even 50,000, you must have said for 10 years to be able to get to 48,000. Sure. And can you imagine 10 years from now, what can 48,000 do for you? 48,000. And you have saved faithfully for it. That's what I'm saying. All I'm trying to say is saving comes from somewhere, but also, if you can afford 4 beers a day, then at the back of your mind, then you should be able to afford even that enough for 4 beers a day and 6,000 in a month. That means you can save at least 20,000. You've already saved aside just for your pension, isn't it? So, not immediate gratification, no financial literacy, by the way. Sometimes people don't know where should they save. I mean, which is good for which savings method is best for me. If you save in a pension scheme, how do I access the money? When is it? How is it treated? How does it earn interest? You know, there are those things, general questions you're probably already asking yourself. If I put money there, when can I get it back? Those are the most obvious questions. So sometimes, if you don't have the literacy, you're in 4 beers every day. Nangoja kupanda do. Ndio. Complicated language. Definitely. In the next presentation that will come up, we have a bit of technical language pension. So we'll try as much as possible. And pension can take body. So I don't know how much we will do, but I have to make sure you stay alert. Pension, by the way, sometimes those terminologies, unaambiwa, like now you tell your personal contribution shall vest immediately. Somebody will ask you, what is vesting? Yeah? Unasikia kuna kitu inaitwa DB scheme. What is DB? So sometimes that complicated language, prevents people from engaging in matters pension. Now, before I'll not go to the next slide. I think I'll pick it up from there. Or, yeah, I think we should have tea. I'll pick it up from there quickly and then we'll proceed to the next presentation. See, let me wish you a good tea break. What time will you come back, Jed?
7 minutes, okay?
If possible, I think are they allowed to carry their tea in?
I will need to check the house.
Okay.
But that can also be a good option.
Yeah.
So let's talk 10 minutes, but if that's not possible, we'll just also get the tea.
You can still try come with a cup of tea as I speak because I'm not speaking, I'm not using my mouth, isn't it? I'm using the ears. Thank you very much. Enjoy your tea. All right.
nani? So I'm thinking, Winnie, my thinking is acha tuone kama tuko na kila kitu.
Papa sijui nitafanya nini. Mama, sijui nitafanya nini.
Tununulie lens nyingine, hiyo ndio utakuwa umetusaidia sana. Mimi atastaki lapel nataka lens kwa sababu unaona kaa saa hii lens haiko as sharp.
Nitahave mkutano mimi, wewe na Ken. Ofisi ifuatwe na invoice ya 5 million. Alafu aongee Naivasha. Wanaulizana nani amesponsor hiki?
Part wa RBA
Sasa si ndio?
yeah.
So how much is this possible? Ndio tutajana sema kwani mnafunza kitu mnafunza kama
shikilia hapa. Unaweza research hapo na kuangalia later he was formerly a communication consultant. Huyo amekwambia tayari unaleta mama na
from your notes.
You may have it coming out of your audio interface or something of that nature. Select the correct or dependent audio source for your computer audio devices. If you're doing console stuff, things like that, maybe you play around with that. But for the most part, choose desktop audio device. Now for me, I am plugging my microphone that you see here in the webcam. So it allows me to go in with XLR or microphone cable into my audio interface. Now everything else here below that, I would not mess with. If you're getting into that kind of stuff,
come back.
Just 14 minutes. Continue on your tea. Let's continue the session. So far, how many are actually enjoying this session? There are show of hands, please. How many are learning something new or a lot of new things from this session? There are show of hands. All right. So now we're actually doing a good job there. People enjoying themselves and learning a lot. And you know, get into the technical bit of it, I'm pretty sure we have brilliant minds within the room, they'll be able to grasp. So please sit down, take your break, your tea break. Just settle down with that now we continue with the session. If you're still outside and you can hear me, please sign. We'd like to continue.
They're established by written law and parliament, so they are called statutory schemes. So they're established. So what registers them is having a trust in them. That is their constitution. Now, that is where majority of these schemes belong. Now, these are the kind of schemes you have in the entire sector. Now, the civil service pension scheme, for those who have maybe relatives or you worked in the mainstream government, teachers, policemen, the general service, all those belong in the civil service pension scheme. Now, the civil service is normally, it has always been exempt from the Retirement Benefits Act, so we don't regulate it. And then we're saying it's not funded because they don't pay anything to the scheme. So you give your service to the government. At the end of the day, government has promised you a pension. That is where I think the permanent and pensionable comes in. So at the end of your service, government gives you a pension. So it is for all civil servants, and then it's by an act of parliament. Now there is a new scheme that is effective this January. For now, the same civil servants with 45 years and below, it's mandatory. They will move to what we call the Public Superannuation Service Scheme. That scheme will take over 45-year-old and above civil servants, and now they will start contributing. The contribution rates are already set in that act, about 7.5 and 15% from government, and now it will be subject to the regulation of RBA. So before we never used to regulate it, but now since they'll be contributing, they'll be regulated by RBA. Then you have the National Social Security Fund. Now NSSF, it's also a statutory scheme. It is both for the formal and informal sector, but it's mandatory for people in the formal sector. So if you have employed anyone, you're actually required to remit NSSF for them. And by anyone, I mean including your house helps, including your watchmen. Do you contribute NSSF for them? Your house help? Do you? And do you know they can sue you if you terminate them for that NSSF that you did not contribute? Please beware. Actually, there's been even precedents now in court where house help actually sued for unfair termination and other benefits. And because the employer was not contributing NSSF, she was compensated a good amount. So ideally, you're supposed to be contributing some NHIF and some NSSF for your employees, including the one you have in your house. I don't know why you assume they're not employees. Okay, who are they? Because I think from the way you're looking at me, it's like employees are those you work with in the office. So who is your house help? She's not an employee?
Family.
Oh, family. And you pay her salary. When you live with your sister, do you pay her salary? Yeah? So you cannot assume that it is like that. You have an employer-employee relationship. And that's what the court just needs to determine. Is this your employee? Do you pay them? How often do you pay them? I mean, all those things. Once the employer-employee relationship has been established, then you become liable to contribute NSSF. So be aware of that. And in fact, if it were possible, I know it's in our Kenyan culture, it's not something that has been taken up even by most jurisdictions. But ideally, you should have a contract with your house help, written contract. Most of the time, unajua mnakubaliana verbally, I'll pay you this much, you stay under my roof, and ABCD, this is what I expect, you know. So at the end of the most of the time, but the Employment Act recognizes even oral contracts. So once the employer-employee relationship is established, just know you are supposed to contribute mandatory contributions, which include NSSF. And then we have what we call, so it is a funded scheme because people make contributions towards the scheme. And it's for informal sector, it is voluntary. Those who deliberately want to make an effort to save for their retirement, now this is the hustler nation or the entrepreneur nation, yeah? Those who are not, you don't have a contract, like the CEOs, see when you are self-employed. So you are more or less considered in the informal sector, but I think you're informal because you already have companies, they're registered, that's formal. Yeah? The informal, I mean the Juakali sector, where there is no contract of service, there is no registered institution. The mama mbogas, what they earn that day, what they get that day, if they put something aside, they can voluntarily decide to be setting aside some money to go to NSSF, all right? Then it's funded because there are those contributions, then it's subject to the Retirement Benefits Authority, or Act. Then they have something we call occupational schemes, umbrella schemes, and individual schemes. All these are types of schemes that are registered under RBA. We'll go into the details when we get into the presentation on how to differentiate the three different schemes. Now, stakeholders. Who are these people we call stakeholders in a retirement benefit scheme? We start with the sponsor. The person we call a sponsor, we said, is the employer. Yeah? So you are the person who will set up the scheme, or the person who sets up the scheme is called a sponsor. Then you have trustees. Now, in the structure, when you have trustees are the people we call the legal owners. So you can be a corporate trustee, you can be an individual trustee. So these trustees are like the board of directors in a company. So assuming the way your company is structured, you have board of directors, you have CEO, then you have other staff, isn't it? So for a pension scheme, you will have the equivalent of a board of directors is the board of trustees in a pension scheme. So a pension scheme is managed by Board of Trustees, and it is a separate entity from the employer. So the moment you establish a scheme, just know you and that scheme are two, your company and that scheme are two different people. Let's not confuse things. So the way it is governed will be different from how you govern your own affairs. Then members, we have three categories of members. We have active members, those who are regularly making contributions. Deferred members, they are those who made a contribution and then they probably left that money in that scheme. So they're not actively contributing to that scheme, but they have their money in that pension scheme. If, for instance, you're formerly employed, like now he was in the county, I'm sure you left some money in the scheme, isn't it? Yeah. So you are a defined member of the scheme that the county was participating in. Then we have manager. Fund manager, those are people who are licensed also by RBA. Now the service providers I was telling you about. To be a fund manager, these are the people who actually make investment decisions. So they give investment advice to the trustees. They are the people who are the experts in matters investments. So the board works with these service providers to ensure that the money that you have kept in the scheme or you've given to the scheme is giving something in return. And it is also, and by the way, if you're a fund manager within the retirement benefits industry, there are certain guidelines. You can't, for instance, take scheme money and invest in betting. Yeah, there are particular investment asset classes where you must invest the money. So you can't take scheme money and say today I want to go and twende tuweke pesa yetu kwa simiti alafu tukuje tuuze tupate return. It doesn't work like that. So investment decisions are very structured, and there are particular investments you cannot make with pension fund money. So they are guided. So they have to stick to those particular assets where they can only invest the pension money. Then you have the custodian. These are normally banks. They're also licensed. They're key regulated in central bank, but they're also licensed by RBA. Not all banks are custodians for purposes of retirement schemes. So for you to be a custodian of retirement scheme money, then you must be licensed by RBA. Administrators, I like calling them watu wa mkono. Watu wa mkono are trustees are called administrators. They're the people they do the day-to-day running of the scheme. They're the people who keep records. They're the people who compute the benefits. So they have very robust systems where they're able to do all this work. So in general, if you look at how the scheme is structured, we are saying you have the board of trustees. Then that trustee will appoint a manager who will tell them how to invest the money. They will appoint an administrator who will do record keeping. Then they'll also appoint a custodian who will hold the money. Safekeeping of assets. If you have a title of the scheme, if you buy share certificates, you cannot keep those certificates in the house. You have to give them to the custodian. Okay. So all I'm trying to demonstrate here is that when you have pension scheme money, the roles are segregated. The person holding the money is not the person investing, and is not the person holding the records. Yeah, they have segregated roles. There are three different people. Okay, managed under the board of trustees. Now, if you decide to establish a scheme as an employer, what will be your obligations? One of the obligations you need to determine is what are the contribution rates that your employees will contribute. And for public sector is already almost determined. There are particular boundaries you can't go beyond or you can't go below. But for private institutions, as the employer, you determine how much am I going to contribute for my employees and how much are your employees going to contribute for them to get that income at retirement. Then it will be your work to ensure, once you've settled, you'll be doing, let's say, 5% and 10%. You ensure that you have deducted from that employee salary and give it to the custodian every month. It is your duty as an employer now to make sure in the payroll system you have already set a system whereby it automatically deducts that contribution before you pay your employee the next salary. Okay? And as you say, pesa ikishafika kwa mfuko ni ngumu sana. So you'd rather itolewe tu huko mapema ujue hauna, si ndio? So if you know you're not self-disciplined like myself, you'd rather somebody deducts it for you, then the balance know how to deal. Okay? So if you're not, kama unasikia uchungu sana kutoa 20,000 upeleke kwa scheme, then ensure wherever it's coming from, it's deducted in advance. That way it saves you a lot of trouble or headache. I mean, you couldn't be a na amani. You know, some of you are going to be tormented tonight because of taking beer. Maybe because I made it tormenting. No. All I'm saying is, before you take that beer, think about your future. Okay? Appoint trustees. Once you have a pension scheme, at some point as an employer, you'll be now required to appoint this board of trustees, who constitute both from the member side and from the employer side. So that is what constitutes the board that will manage that pension scheme. And then you ensure that you comply with the Retirement Benefits Act and regulations, and that's trusted and rules. So all you're saying is that this, actually I'm trying to give you an overview. There is deeper to this. So the day you say you want to establish a scheme, now we can sit you down and take you through the entire process. So I'm just giving you a general overview of what will be expected of you. All right, sorry, I'm talking and I did not put the screen up. There you go. So ideally, the employer, you don't have direct control over the scheme because the scheme will be managed by a different board. And you can be part of that board, but once you sit in that board of trustees, you're only there as a trustee. You don't carry your cap as the CEO of that institution. You become somebody who's acting for the benefit of another. Okay? Now, these slides will be left behind, so I'm sure they will share the slides, yeah? This will need to make reference. This thing is, all right. Key considerations when you're setting up a scheme. First of all, you need, before you decide what are the contribution rates, you need to determine what is the desired level of income I want for myself and for the employees. Then you work backwards. And this sometimes is best achieved if you can get an expert to advise you. But if you know how to correlate your figures and predict and foresee and see the probability of you living up to 60 and how much you will earn, well and good. But most of the time, it's normally advised to seek actuarial advice, or if you have somebody who has studied actuarial science, they'll be able to be in a position to advise you. But always say, before you determine, because you don't want to be contributing 200, as you see the demonstration, you're contributing 200 or 400 shillings, and then at the end of the day, that money will not really give you the desired income, okay? So even NSSF, I remember NSSF actually amended the act to increase that limit to 6% employer and 6% employee. I believe the intention was for whoever who is retiring to have some sufficient income at retirement. Because if you keep going with the 400 shillings, you see, I mean, if you look at the future, even if it has earned interest, surely it might not do much for you even as a person. So all we're saying, we're encouraging you that when you're determining what you want to contribute to your retirement, work backwards. If you want to be paid 100,000, then work backwards. What will make you achieve the 100,000? Is it by saving 5,000 today? Is it by saving 20,000? So that is the mathematics you need to first determine. So that whatever you're saving will make sense at the end of the day. So at the accumulation phase, we have the accumulation phase and then we have the payout phase. So at the point when you're accumulating, what you also need to consider apart from contribution is the expenses. So are you able to manage that cost in the long run? Sustainability. Sustainability. Is it sustainable for your business to be making that contribution or whichever you set it on? If it's 5%, if it's 10% even for your employees, is it sustainable? That's another question. And then expense. Are you able to meet that expenditure in your books? I'm okay, bankrupt in the process of contributing. So those are the other thing you need to consider. Then the contribution period also determines, it gives a very even contribution rates. Why? Because if you have young employees, they might contribute less because they have a longer period to contribute, isn't it? If you have older employees, they have few years to retirement, so you need to contribute more. Alright? So the ages of the employees or your age as a person be able to determine how much you will contribute to the scheme. Other benefits, you need to have another benefit included in addition to the pension scheme. Do you want to like have a death in service cover? Do you want to have an ill health disability cover? All those things can be taken care of under the scheme. So those are the kind of decisions you need to consider. At the point of paying out, the other thing you need to consider is that how will I want to receive this money? Will I want to receive it as a lump sum cap, or will I want to receive it as a pension on a monthly basis until you pass on? You have three ways: either a lump sum, a pension, or what you call program withdrawals, income drawdown. I'll be able to explain that later. Then the other thing you also need to check is, will you want to establish your own scheme, or would you rather join an existing scheme? So we have, as I indicated earlier, we have several types of scheme. There is one that is already established, where you can simply just take your employees there, you continue everything. There is one that you will establish by yourself, and you want your own employees to just contribute. So it's a decision you make also as an employer, from an employer perspective. You want to go through the expenses of establishing your own, or would you rather just doing what is already existing? Then you also need to make a decision on the design of the scheme. So we are coming up with the designs. Now, scheme designs, we have two types of schemes. We have what we call a defined benefit scheme and a defined contribution scheme. I tell you it's gonna get boring, but hang in there, hang in there. Write notes. When I can see you from a distance. If you write,
Following.
yeah, if you write, you I'm sure you will follow. We have BB schemes and DC schemes, but BB schemes are more or less being phased out. But DB schemes is the typical type of the civil service scheme, where it doesn't matter what you contribute, whether you've contributed or not contributed. What matters is that you take ideally, it is the benefit that is defined. So it's called DB because the benefit is known. That what do you get at the end of the day? They will take a formula. They will take a pension factor, they will multiply by years of service and multiply by the final pensionable salary that you're earning. So that will determine what you get as your pension. It doesn't matter what you contributed, the benefit is already known by virtue of a formula. Now, in a defined contribution scheme, the contribution is defined. And that is what the majority of the schemes nowadays, in fact, as I've said, DB schemes are being phased out. So we are more or less in the DC kind of scheme. In the DC scheme, it's straightforward. What you contribute, what your employer contributes, and the investment income you get out of it. That will determine what your benefits will be. Okay? Utauliza maswali. Kufikia hapo tumeelewana? Tumeelewana? Are we together? Natalie, are we together? And the friend in front of Natalie, Joanne here. Are we together? Okay, what are the key considerations when you're establishing a scheme? What will you consider? Yeah, I know. Okay, sometimes it can be tricky to master everything at the same time, but please, I just want you to continue paying attention, write down so that we don't leave you behind. But in the meantime, we have another design of scheme. We have what we call a pension scheme and a provident fund. Anybody who knows the difference? Anybody who knows the difference between a pension scheme and a provident fund? Difference? Volunteer? Or I volunteer you? Anybody? I mean, you want to tell me you've never heard about a pension scheme or a provident? You've not. What have you heard about a pension scheme? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, there you're right, but both of them actually cater for your retirement. It's just the mode of how they are paid that is different. Wants to try again? Further to that, that's good. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, at least, at least you. What's your name again? I don't. I didn't get your name by the way. What's your name? Yeah. Eddie. Okay. I almost called you Edna. Eddie. Okay. All right. Next. Okay. So what we're saying is that if you're in a pension scheme, so we say this is the payout phase, so you need to decide. Pension scheme, you take a third lump sum. The 2/3 is paid to you in form of a pension, in form of a monthly allowance for the rest of your life. For provident, if it's 5 million, unapewa yote. If you want to go get confused with it, that's your problem. How you will invest it, that's it. So there is no guarantee. So for the pension scheme, you only take 1/3 of the pot. 2/3 is paid in bits until for life, for as long as you live. If you live to up to 110, you still be paid up to 110. Provident fund, you get a lump sum, you manage it. Okay? Now, here are the advantages. If you decide you want a pension or a provident fund. Now, for the pension, the advantage is that you are assured of that periodic payment. You remember you were saying the payments that your are getting every month. You see, that's an assured payment that they know every 2 months I'm going to get 4,000 shillings, isn't it? So it gives them that comfort that, hey, even if I'm broke, I know on taxes, I'm going to pick 2,000, I'll get a salary, you get a jewelry. You know, that assurance is there with a pension. Then, in case you live for too long, if you live up to 150, yeah, if you're so blessed, you can, when you're adopting, you can live that long. 100 and okay. Let me just say, I personally would love to live very long, but I don't want to live to the extent that I'm not in control of myself. You know, yeah. So that if you need to do anything, you can't walk, you have to be carried, you have to be moved, you can't chew, your teeth are falling off. I think it's a painful old age. I want to live long, but not to that extent. So all I'm saying is that if you're blessed, as he said, and you live up to 120, and I don't know whether with this generation of kukupono and chips, we can get to that extent. But point being, if you live to 100, I mean, it's going to give life. So if you live up to 100 and something, at least for pension, you're assured for that 100 years, you will get something. Alright, that's the advantage of a pension. Then, in fact, yeah, another one. It takes care of the risk of living too long. Even the slide has said so. I haven't seen that. Then there's that tax advantage. Remember we said that 65 it's pension, it's tax free, and then up to 25,000 it's still tax free when you're getting a pension every month. Okay, so at least those are the advantages of the pension. I can see the list is at least slightly longer than the provident. Provident, the advantage of a provident fund is like you have, you can opt to purchase a pension with that money. You can opt to, you have the freedom to choose whether you want to get the periodic payments or whether you just want to take the lump sum. You see, for the one in the pension scheme, it's already decided. You actually don't have a choice. For the provident fund, because of the lump sum, you have the choice to decide how much you want to put aside for pension, or you give the insurance company to be paying you pension, and how much would you rather take? And then you do whatever you want, maybe a business you want to start, or put it in an investment or something. So the bottom line for a provident fund is that financial freedom. You choose. Now, the disadvantages, both sides. Pension equally has another longer list of disadvantages. Number one is that it takes away the freedom of choice because it's already stated. You can only take one side. You cannot go beyond one side in taking an answer. And the two sides you've already been told it will be a pension. So you don't have a choice. Now, there's that inflexibility. Now, nowadays, we have something we call a pension. Nowadays is what we call an annuity. An annuity is an insurance product, which is exactly like a pension. The difference is A pension is when you're earning it within the scheme. An annuity, you purchase it from an insurance company. So you take your 2/3, you go to an insurance, they do their own calculations, whatever rates I don't know how they calculate their benefits. They tell you now, we are guaranteeing you a payment with this 2 million you've given me. I can guarantee you, let's say, 20,000 every month for the rest of your life. Okay? Then they have different products, whether you want to take it an annuity for just your own, or you want to take a joint annuity between you and your spouse. So all those options are normally listed for you. So you make the choice. So when you go to the insurance company, they give you, so it's just transferring risk. You're removing the risk from the scheme, you're giving it to the insurance company to take care of it. Okay? So it will still be the same. They'll still pay you for the rest of your life. It's only that now you'll be paid by the insurance company as opposed from being paid from the scheme. So once you purchase an annuity, or once you go the pension way, it cannot be assigned as security, number one. You cannot cancel. Once you've purchased that annuity, you go in for life. You can't move. If you choose, like our friend said, there is in Jubilee, yeah? If you go to him and he assists you to purchase an annuity from that company, you are in it to stay. So you have to make a very wise choice when you're choosing an annuity product. And then you cannot commute. Those are the terminologies we're talking about. Commuting is converting it into a lump sum. So once the 2/3 is, you cannot say, for instance, instead of giving me this 20,000 every month, so you just give me, like in advance, give me like 100,000, then the other 100,000 you give me at the end of, like you cannot make it a lump sum. You can only receive it in periodic payments on a monthly basis. Then cannot be passed on after death. So once you give, if, as I said, there are different categories of that product, and because I'm not in the insurance sector, I will not go into the details, but all I know is you go to the insurance, you ask them for an annuity, they'll give you the details of the product. One of the things you'll find is you have to choose if it's guaranteed or not guaranteed. Guaranteed means they guarantee you that we'll give you this money for a period of 10 years. In case you pass on, that balance is given to your dependents. But after the guarantee period, it's just you who will be paid. In case you pass on, nothing goes to your dependents. Okay? So those are the kind of things you'll have to choose when you get to the insurance company of choice and see what they have to offer. They've calculated for you, they've told you this is how much you can give you, but they'll still pay you the member for the rest of your life. Then you have the provident fund, the disadvantages, you discount living. As you said, if you get 5 million today, and see what money makes man much. So you can imagine if you're used to getting 100,000 every month, somebody gives you 10 million all of a sudden. Now, 10 million. Eh? The first time you're touching, or even assuming you are being paid 25,000, 30,000, the first time somebody is giving you 1 million. Do you remember how you felt when you touched your first million? If you've ever touched that. If you've ever gone to your account and it was reading 6 zeros. You know that feeling? Yeah? For you who are, I know, of course, kubali tu, atuta kuroga. Kubali tu. Yeah? So point being, there's that feeling when you feel like you've really achieved, you know? Then now here you are, somebody gives you 5 million, 10 million, then you're not supposed to plan with that money, you're supposed to plan your future. Then it happens, you have not started any business. Unaonanga matatu zinabebanga vizuri. Tenatco zako unaonanga inabeba watu vizuri kwenda Machakos. These guys must be making a lot of money. Nasema hii unaenda unafanya research kwa internet. Ama unapata mtu anakuta napata mimi matatu yangu nilikuwa nauza. Ngapi? 1 point. 2 point. Unanunua. Nenda matatu kwa roots. You've never done that business. You don't understand it. Makanga wanakutengeneza laini hivi. Yeah? Because they have experience. They know that is their office, you know. They teach you a lesson. The next thing you know, Matatu is making more losses than the income it's bringing. Then you look for the next fortune bringer. You look for the next business. Unaona watu kwa Instagram wanasemanga you invest 300,000, in 6 months you get 500,000. You go and say, Iko, ngapi per quarter you buy 300,000. You pay quarter tano. You invest. Unangoja 600 times 5. Then kidogo you watch news unaona kampuni ilianguka juzi sijui nini ilifanya. Do you know you can actually collapse? Point being, don't wait for retirement to try new things. You will be messed up terribly. All the businesses, only new business you start towards that age. 98 or 99% of those businesses fail. Because you know nothing about that business. So the best time to start a business is now. If you think you want to start agribusiness, this is the time to do trial and error. Because if it fails, you have a chance to go back to the drawing board and start again. So imagine it fails, you're 60. Who will employ you? Sawa, umeenda umetafuta kazi ya kupaka rangi. Nani hata atakubali kukupea hiyo kazi? Mtu ataogopa utakufia kwake. Kwa sababu hata hiyo kazi ukipanda mtu mzee, hii kazi ataweza. I'm not saying there are those actually, if you're in a paid job for instance, there are those who've been there long enough that even if they're 70, you can still trust the job they do. But you can imagine you've left an office. County government director, that's the thing. Maisha yanakuwa ngumu hata ndio kupaka rangi. Ngazi hata ujibu. You know it's somebody down. So it's a risk somebody might not be willing to take because that's much. So bottom line, when you still have the energy, try all those things. If you want to go to the insurance sector, if you want to go to ICT sector, this is the time to do it. So that by the time you're getting to 60, you've already settled on something. You focus on one thing where you feel like you're comfortable, you feel you have the passion for it, you feel like you can be able to continue with that business way after you leave your formal employment or whatever it is. So, if you're trying to kufanya bahati nasibu at 58, please just stop. Yeah? So, because we are talking to the young people, please, this is the time. So even if you have 5 hustles, sahi ndio kung'ang'ana. You can easily mtu akikupigia simu, ushajipata uko OTC, umetoka OTC, ushafika kwa inako, you can move, it is very easy to be from one corner of town to the other corner of town because you have the energy. Now, with a provident fund, you also risk making those wrong investment choices. Yeah, and have you ever had ile wakati wanasemanga those seasons ya kuvuna ngano? Yeah, when those were those yes bonuses. People out here waiting for that money. They will move with you wherever you're going. Your family is waiting for your retirement. And ask you, malipo retirement. In fact, even as recent as during the Christmas season, I had people planning for somebody's retirement money. Tunasikia nani amelipo retirement. Wamekupangia. Sasa wanataka uwape Christmas. Uwape Christmas na pesa yako. Alafu. I think it's a bad culture we have. Yeah. But bottom line, all we are saying is that if you plan now, you'll be in a better space at the point of retirement. Now, this other option we call income drawdown. It's an alternative to an annuity. We said you can be paid as a pension or annuity, or a lump sum, senior. The third way you can be paid is an income drawdown. These are type of products under the Retirement Benefits Act. We have institutions we've registered that are called income drawdown funds. Then they are a bit flexible. You actually take your 2/3. This one applies if you're in the pension side, or for provident, if you choose, you can still go to an income drawdown fund. There are people who actually make deliberate decisions to take the money, even from a provident fund. They get the lump sum, but they prefer to put it somewhere to purchase an annuity because they know the importance of having an income. So it's like security. Unasema in case your investment iniende kubaya kabisa, at least you're sure you'll get a monthly allowance. So this income drawdown is an alternative to an annuity. And this one is regulated by the RBA. So once you give your 2/3 funds to the income drawdown, they will pay you depending on the periodic payments is up to you. So long as you're paid a maximum of 15% per that year, and then it is subject to a maximum of 10-year period. So the minimum period once you go to a drawdown is 10 years. At least you cannot leave that drawdown. They must spread that fund up to 10 years to ensure that you have something for 10 years and to ensure you don't withdraw more than 15%. Sustainability, isn't it? And then the good thing about this money, it is reinvested. Every year you'll be getting investment income. So after the 10 years, you'll be free to do what you choose. You can choose an annuity. You can take the lump sum that is the balance. You can decide to continue drawing down. So for income, you draw down according to your preference. You can choose monthly. You can choose semi-annually. You can choose quarterly. You can choose annually. It's up to you. So at least there's that flexibility. And soon we'll be doing the income drawdown regulations, which will again come to the members of the public for public participation. So the more you attend these forums, the more some of these things start to sound familiar. Okay? So when you see some adverts, don't ignore. If you're free, attend. Okay? And anyway, so the income drawdown has a bit of flexibility. So you can draw down, you can so instead of getting monthly bits and pieces, you get, and it's not guaranteed for life. This one, it is as long as you're drawing down that fund. Ikiisha, become a bank account. Ikiisha, kuisha. But at least you're guaranteed for 10 years, you will be earning something. So assuming you've retired at 60, 10 years you'll be 70. And you will still live with a, if you give an income drawdown, I'm not an actuary, I don't know how to calculate, but I want to assume if you're to give your, from the calculations I've seen, somebody gives you 7 million, if you give an income loan of 7 million today, and you're probably drawing down, it depends. You can, depending on the percentage you want to draw down in a month, it can range between 100 and something, or you can go to as low as 60 something. So if you don't need the money, then you draw down a lower value. Senior, when you need more money, you can always increase the value. So, yeah. So on death, whatever is left in that pot is given to your dependents. So that is guaranteed. Now, generally, this is how the scheme design looks like. We have the sponsor. You choose if you want a DC, DB, but we are working with DC. If it's DC, you choose whether you want a pension or a provident. Now, for DB schemes, mostly they are pension schemes, so there are mostly no two ways about it. Now, these are the scheme types we have, the types of schemes that I was talking about earlier. We have the occupational scheme, we have the individual pension plan or pension scheme, then we have the umbrella. Next. So, the occupational scheme, individual pension plan, and the umbrella. For the occupational scheme, this is a scheme established by an employer for the benefits of its employees. So if you want to have your own scheme, it's you and your employees contributing to that scheme, then you choose an occupational scheme. For instance, where RBA has established a scheme, I am in an occupational scheme because it's only employees of RBA that can participate in that scheme. When you're not an employee, you cannot participate, okay? So that is where the sponsor, now the employer, will appoint trustees, trustees will appoint service providers, then service providers will attend to the members' needs. Then we have the individual pension scheme. The individual pension scheme can be established by a private entity. So if you have a company limited, you say now you want to establish, most individual schemes you'll find, we have about 30. If you go to our website, you have quite a number, about 30 of them. Then they appoint a corporate trustee, which is mandatory for them. You can't have individual trustees. Then that trustee will appoint service providers. So this one is if any member of the public who wishes to contribute towards their pension can join an individual pension plan or an individual pension scheme. If you go to our website, you tap on individual pension scheme, you'll see a long list of up to 30. So you can choose which one you want to join. It's free. I mean, you can choose whichever you want to join. Then you have the umbrella arrangement. This is where an independent sponsor, a private or a legal entity, establishes a corporate or a board of trustees, has a board of trustees, service provider. But the umbrella arrangement is a type of occupational scheme, but in this one, it has several employers joining one scheme. So you can have employer A, employer B, employer C, employer D under one scheme. That's why it's called an umbrella. So for instance, you can have RBA joining there. You can have Mbuvi and Associates. We can have Natalie and Associates, all of them contributing to that scheme. On that one, you just need to sign one document, and then you just adhere to the scheme rules. It's already existing. So you just need to sign a document to join, and your work is to deduct and remit contributions to that scheme, okay? It tends to be a hands-off type of scheme. When you don't want to deal with day-to-day management of a scheme, you move to an umbrella. Now, what are the advantages of being in an umbrella scheme? It targets small and medium, but even large ones, even large large enterprises can also join an umbrella. Then it also gives employers an opportunity to save for the employees. And remember, by the way, there's no minimum number to establish a scheme or to join in a scheme. Even if you're 5 of you, you can join an umbrella as 5 people. As long as you are limited, you are a company, you are an employer, you sign a document, you start contributing to that umbrella. You'll be getting your statements as often. Reports will be given to you. If you have any information, you need any information, they can always give it to you. So this one, if you're not able to establish your own scheme, you join an umbrella, then it reduces management responsibility. Somebody else is managing that scheme for you completely. It's hands-off. Yours is to get returns and reports, okay? Reduce costs, because when you have more employers, you cost share. If there are any payments to be made to providers, they are deducted across all employers. So if you're alone, you would have probably paid for something at 200,000. But if you're 5, you'll pay each 40,000. Hold on, 5 divided by 200, is it 40? All of you will pay like 40K, 40K, 40K. You see, it has distributed the cost across board, okay? Corporate trustee, most of them have corporate trustees, and you get to benefit from independent and specialist trustees, because most of the time, corporate trustees are professional trustees, yeah? And then in the board of management of an umbrella scheme, if the individual trustees, they must appoint independent people. So you get to, when you're in an occupational scheme, you appoint from your own staff members, from your own institution. So you could find you've appointed somebody, but they don't understand matters pension, but they are trustees. But in an umbrella, the people appointed must have certain qualifications. So the disadvantages are that you lack representation when you're in an umbrella scheme. Nobody will sit in the board most of the time. Then members, you'll find they're not involved in decision making, because somebody most of the time is managing the fund on your behalf. And then there is an increased risk if there are no controls in place. So as I come to the end, if you want to establish a scheme, you will need to do a resolution. Your board of directors will need to do a resolution to establish that scheme. Even if you're joining an umbrella, you just need a resolution that you've resolved that you will join this umbrella, or you will start your own scheme. Then in your board of director meeting, you need to determine what are the contribution rates you want to give your employees and what your employees will contribute. Then if it's an occupational scheme, you'll need to prepare trust deed and rules and also appoint trustees. Then you will register with RBA. So at the point of registration, RBA will ask you to bring documents like the application form, the trust deed, fund management agreement, custodial agreement, a deposit agreement, for deposit administration, if you invested your funds in an insurance. So this one happens if you're in an occupational scheme. So if you don't want to go through all these things of registration, blah, 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 you just join you join what? You join what? An umbrella, yes. And I'm here to ask questions. So, maybe just finally, generally what you will need to do, we've said you sponsor a resolution, you make a decision on the type of scheme you want, the contribution rates you want to make, investment. So the moment you have made a decision to establish a scheme, then now we will take you through the process. You can call us as many times as you want, and we will explain to you what you need to do. We will guide you through it until you finalize, okay? But I'll say, if you don't want to go through the hassle of registration, you join an umbrella scheme, right? And if you don't want to, if your employer decides they don't want to have, or maybe you have many casual employees, you can still join an individual pension plan. So in addition to the NSSF, you can still make contributions to an individual pension plan or increase your contributions to the NSSF, okay? It will be good for your future. So you can always make that choice. You can weigh the options and see. You want to increase the contribution, because NSSF cannot say they cannot take more than what they are saying is the minimum. Maximum is not capped, only the minimum. So if you want to be contributing 100,000, I'm sure they'll be more than welcome. They will be more than happy to receive it. If you also you feel like you have an alternative to join an individual pension plan, we have a list of them in the website. We also have a list of the umbrella schemes on the site. You can go and select one, and then you contact them, and they'll tell you what you need to be able to join the scheme, okay? So if you're not going to establish a scheme for your employees, the very least you can do is find a way to have them contribute in the individual capacity, because it is for their own good. So the message you'll take home today is ensure that you have signed up each and every of your employee to a pension scheme. Now, any question? A couple, okay. Let's hold on the couple of questions. I'm sure you've written them down, yeah? All right, as I wind up then, this is, next. Now, I'm no financial expert, but today I want to tell you one thing, how to be poor. I will not tell you how to make money, because I know you know how to make money. But if you want to come down here to the poor category, this side of town, yeah, this is how fast you can get there. Never wake up early, senior. Never plan how to spend your money. Ikiingia 50k chukua, throw bash. Wait for the next one to come into your account. Senior. Don't think of saving until you stumble on big money. People always waiting to start project. You are still waiting. Sijui kama unangoja umeka bet yako ya sport pesa. Hiyo ndio unangoja upate jackpot, eh? But then those people go to the jackpot. Where do they go? I never hear about them afterwards.
It's a scam. It's a scam.
It's a scam?
Yeah.
Really?
There's some research into that we made that for advertisement.
They get the money, for real, yeah.
For
They
me, I've seen
get the money. What happens is it's a lot of money that has come in unexpected,
But you stumbled on.
and you actually are convinced about what to do. But this one guy, this guy did over 200 and something million.
That's the last jackpot winner I remember.
Yeah, I think this guy had some people in his hands, and apparently he's doing very well for himself. He invested in quite a number of things out of the country and all that. So it's about having financial literacy before you stumble.
Okay.
Right. Or maybe it's just you don't get rich by luck.
No, but you see, even, but then let me tell you for free, anyway, I'm just saying, I once did the sport pesa betting. I mean, I used to get money. I didn't have it. When I bet now, so, you batisha. I'm not a sports person. I just used to see guys doing it a lot. So one time I also tried. And I'm sitting in the salon, oh, you've won 5,000. Like, oh, I didn't know. Then the good thing or the bad thing about betting, you keep going back with that money. hoping to stumble into the jackpot. But I gave up in the process. I stopped following. Anyway, maybe it was not in my, yeah. But bottom line, so for 200 million, I mean, that's a lot of money. So you can imagine, the 250 is the 1 million in your life. So you are looking for that. You are waiting to stumble onto 1 million to make the big move. So if you want to be poor, continue giving those stories that people give at Jobless Corner. I've been in such kind of conversations. Yeah? People build castles. Yeah, they just build castles and still waiting for the big money to come. Engage in immediate gratification to earn praise. Those right, is it Boniface? Boniface is this one, yeah. His name was, I've forgotten your name, please. Richard. Okay. Now, Richard, since you're the first to talk about entertainment, so you are the one who, when you go to a joint, you ask for a crate, alafu unakanyaga. Unajua, you want to be known. You are the type of person when you come, even the bouncers smile. They see you, they run to look for a seat. They can even chase people from that area just so that you sit. Because they know when Richard comes, he will step on a crate. He will give them 1,000 bob when he's stepping out, you know. That life is there, and I mean, I see it. So it's not just on paper, it actually happens. So if you want to be very poor very quickly, continue doing it. And you know, if you look at people who've made it, who have worked hard for their money, who have made it, they never pull such stunts. It is very hard to find somebody who has made his money, who has worked hard for his money, who has built an empire, walking around throwing money. I rarely see that. I rarely. But anyway, don't think of starting a business until an angel gives you capital. Yeah. I'm sure maybe before you started, before you started your company, you were somewhere saying, capital. How much do you need? 100,000. Okay. How much do you need? Kimuna. I don't go na moja capital. Na angel alikuja. Somehow, if you start, you will always find a way. But you have to make that first big step. Sikae ukingoja ati angel akuja kufungulia biashara then umlipe pole pole. They don't just come off it. Then complain about everything and do nothing. Yeah, always saying, shida. Alafu umekaa tu. Asubuhi jioni umekaa tu. I don't know what you're waiting for. You're not doing the moment you feel, until you feel very uncomfortable, actually, that is when you decide to do something about it. But the moment you've not done something about it, it means you're still comfortable. But the moment you step out is when you realize, the moment you become so uncomfortable is when you will step out of that situation. Spend more than your income. Wale watu wa Fuliza, mko present. Next to Edil, how are you? What's your name, please? Marianne. Do you Fuliza? No. You spend within your income? Okay, that's good. Ask Wainaina. Do you Fuliza? Do you Fuliza? No, you don't.
Me, I do.
Yes. The CEO is in this.
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As much as it is convenient, it is also, yeah? Yeah. Fuliza, I think it's also a changing thing, and it has changed the money sector somehow. Because at some point, by the way, it catches you're in a situation where you can't get money. Like not immediately. Imagine standing at the counter of the supermarket, there's a long queue. You need to pay, you thought what you bought was within that budget, then you realize it's over and above by 2,000. Now how do you start saying, wait, let me go get 2,000? It's even embarrassing, people are waiting, they wait, talker, unafanya nini? Unafuliza. Kanirudishi. Oh, Now, which is worse? So you start taking your basket back, kwanza kurudisha vitu kwa mashelf.
You're borrowing from your future.
Like for me, a good example is I mostly bank with PCB. I hardly walk around with hard cash. So PCB mobile banking sucks. So you can just be there trying to transfer money to your pesa and it's not working. And you need to get home with milk. Sasa utarudisha ati because utaki kukuliza.
Madam, okay, let's say Fuliza it's for convenience. Now we have other ways of where you literally go and take a loan. We have especially mobile loan. Do you have the tellers? Yeah, branch where interest rates are at 30%, or is it? Yeah. Those things. Oh, cash. Kuna ingine nilisikia ati natumia watu kwa phone book yako. This person needs it. I don't know. I'm like, can you imagine if your boss's phone number is in your list and then wanatuma messages? Surely. This person has a debt of this much. I mean, seriously. It can be so embarrassing, yeah? So avoid getting in such situations. You can. So ideally what you're saying, just live within your means. But I know most of us, it's more on paper than it's practical. Now, compete in dressing through impulse buying. Marianne, tuko pamoja. Wamama, tuko pamoja. The ladies, are we together?
Not at all.
Not at all. Trust you me. This one I'm also a victim. Sometimes, yes, you have 20 pairs of shoes. You have that color, but you still, when you see this one, you want. When you see bag, handbag, our life, I tell you. So it's not necessarily for competing, but even for your own satisfaction, but let me ask you, you have 20 pairs of shoes. How many pairs do you wear at a time? Yeah? How many handbags can you carry at a time? 33. But at a time, how many? It's like having, the next thing is buying a car. Yes, buy a car and remain without sufficient cash to maintain it. Yes, you buy a Range Rover. And then, ukigongwa ukiitisha insurance. Okay. You just want to be seen to be driving a Range Rover. It's just the same thing. You buy some sports car. You have like 3 cars in the parking lot. Okay, fine. How many of those cars do you drive at a time? You can only drive one at a time. Shoes, you can only wear one pair at a time. Even if you took your Range Rover, went to the same road, you want to be seen with many cars, you park. You take your other sports car, your Makex, you come back, you park. It's a good lifestyle. If you can afford it, why not? But usiende kubishana na mahali uwezani. So if your life, you cannot afford to fuel a Range Rover for the next 2 years without struggling, then don't buy it. Just don't buy it. Buy a 1500cc. But because you are kiburi, you want to be seen. You are up to date with the lifestyle that we are all living. You want to take the biggest car in the showroom. Endelea tu. Shikilia hapo hapo. Sikujua pastor wetu pia anaweza sema hivyo. Sadaka is every Sunday. Give your children everything since you are a loving parent. Yeah? Daddy wants pizza. I want a bike. I want a PS5. Inafika, si ndio? Ni kama kufanya abdakadabra. Inafika, si ndio? Muendelee hivyo hivyo. No wonder we cannot depend on you don't trust to depend on your children. Yeah? Because you can already see you. Anyway, we'll raise we'll raise a good society, but I don't know. With the life that we are living today, I don't know. Now, yes, next. Which one speaks to you? Mine is time traveling. Onion, you grab it, you open, you cry. You don't know when it's okay. You don't know when it's coming or going. Magic, you touch, it disappears. Amnesia, you can't even remember what you spent it on. And then you spend it paying various debts even before you collect it. Unalipa madeni, tena unaanza fresh madeni. By the time the next salary is coming, inalipa tena hiyo madeni ingine. Yeah? Which one speaks to you? Yeah? Which one speaks to you? Our Rasta in the house. Rastafarian. Yeah? Ama wewe ni kama Marianne, you're within. When you don't even need to cry because you're within budget. Yes? Eh? You're within budget. Hapo umetuenjoy. Mtu wa magig. You live somewhere. Because it's your job anyway, isn't it?
When you think about the magic salary, I'm thinking about 1,000 shillings. Because the moment you break 1,000 shillings,
By the way.
I don't know what happens. You touch it, you break it,
Gone. And by the way, you can't even remember how you spent it. They actually tie in with that amnesia. Yeah, you just can't remember. You try to put your pieces together. You're like, okay, it's just 1,000. But how many thousands are you doing like that?
That's
Just 1,000.
yeah.
Just 1,000. Yeah, that 1,000 is what will make you have 9,999 and not 1 million. Yeah. All right. As I wind up, I leave with you one last quote. We say, be different. Hustle while they party, work while they sleep, and you live like they dream. Na kwa hayo mengi, nasema asante sana. Labda kama una swali lolote, then I'm here to answer your questions as in the best way possible. Asanteni sana. We'll start with you. You said you had a ton of questions. So I'm ready.
Okay, so the first one is on equivalent understanding from the employer's perspective. So I would like also to understand it from an employee's perspective, because when you are talking about gratuity, I recall the situation like when I started working. You know, you just get a job, your focus is just on the pay. So you don't go much into nitty-gritties. And I remember at that time, it was 3 years ago, I was working for a local NGO, and at some point it closed down. So you can imagine my shock when I had my colleague saying, you know, by the way, we are getting some cash. I'm like, what cash? See, gratuity. Like, it's a calculation of, and I was the one who was there for the shortest period, like for 4 years. The rest were like over 10 years and stuff. So here I am, understanding that I'm getting cash that I didn't know about. So you can even imagine how I spend it. So while I was listening to you during the presentation, and there's a bit where you say there's a way you can channel that to a pension fund, I was like, I wish I had that information. So there's that bit I would like to understand, like when you're getting a job in terms of contract, that percentage that you get on gratuity, is it something that you negotiate? And also when it gets to that point where where you would like to channel that fund to a pension scheme, how do you go about it, especially if you change the employers and stuff? And the second question is on the access to pension-backed mortgage. If, for instance, I'm married to Richard and
Hey.
if, for instance, I'm married to Richard and we both have pension schemes, can we combine that as a family and we get a mortgage? The third one is on the trustees' fees, and especially when it comes to the dependence aspect. Like, assuming you have a parent who has died and you need to access either their NSSF or this other stuff, how do you go about identifying who the trustees of that fund were? And the other one is there's a section on the pension scheme you mentioned about the cover not being transferable after death, but unless it's guaranteed. I would also like you to expand on that guaranteed aspect. Thank you.
You have asked questions for 5 people. So any 6th person, then we tap. Is it one or several? I want one with just one question, then the several will pick then the next round. Somebody just maybe one question we add to this list and then we tackle the next round. Esther, you have one question?
Yes, yes.
And then Esther. Winnie, I know you have a bunch. Then next round we start with you. Yeah.
So, considering that many of us are self-employed, when does the retirement age start for us? Or does it mean at whatever moment we decide we want to start collecting our retirement benefits, then we can? Or is there like a specific age? Is it 55 for us? 55 for us?
Okay. All right. Another one question.
I'm very excited to be here to learn what we planned. Because most of the things which we talked about, I already watched them on a series called Videos. And I wanted to find out what's a draft fund.
All right. Let me take those and then we'll take the next round starting with Wainaina. Okay. Now, a trust fund, if I will start with the last question. These are normally companies, limited liability companies, registered to offer trust services. So what they do, if in your own capacity you know somebody, probably they want to keep money maybe for purposes of maybe taking care of their children, education, health, whatever it is, you transfer that money to the trust fund. The trust fund, they give you terms and conditions. It's a trust that is registered, probably they have deposited their documents in the registry of documents. Then they invest the money. So when you've met, the conditions have crystallized, maybe the ones that you have said, maybe when the children start school. So they administer your fund on your behalf. They can, if for instance, pay school fees directly to the school, things like that. They manage the fund on your behalf. Even the retirement scheme is a form of a trust, yeah? Only that it's managed under a particular act of parliament. But if you join any other trust fund, it will be registered under the Companies Act. So they'll have their own trust arrangement that they've set. Maybe there are some documents you'll probably sign. Thereafter, they'll invest the money on your behalf. They will pay as you direct, as required, or as per the instructions. But they'll continue holding that money until it is depleted or transferred. So it's just somebody managing the money on your behalf. They invest it, they give you a return every year, things like that. For a small fee, definitely. No, because you're free. Yeah, all right. Now, on self-employment, if you're self-employed, chances are high you might choose or opt to join an individual pension plan. And all these individual pension schemes, they have trust agent rules. those. They're also governed under trusted and those. In their trusted, they will specify the retirement age. And most of them will say 60, others 65, others have up to 75. But they might also say early retirement is from age 50. And then they say maybe normal retirement is from age 60. So depending on the type of individual scheme you join, they will have a retirement age. But what I see, for most individuals, they will choose their retirement age in an individual pension scheme. So the form, when you're applying to join the scheme, you fill in what would be your retirement age, so long as it's within what they have already provided for. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. The only thing that probably be an issue would have to do with taxation. Any retirement below 65 will attract significant amount of taxation at the age.
Yeah.
But after 65, the tax obligation if any is minimal.
It has been tax-free, except for that small highlight on the lump sum. But before it has been tax-free. Once you hit 65, all your money you take it tax-free. So, but if it's a pension, if you take it in form of a pension, it will be tax-free. If you take it in form of a lump sum, then they're going to tax you, but the taxes are very favorable when you are taking normal retirement. So most of the time, retirement age is 60. Average is 60. But others, like lecturers, it's 70, 75. Like pastors, I think it's 65, 70, So it depends with the kind of scheme you join. That is when they'll tell you, our retirement age is this, but you can choose any age which is not 50 or which does not exceed, something along those lines. Yeah. So, but what I know is that you might select your retirement age. Then they'll tell you the repercussions of making it earlier or later. Yeah. But the later, for retirement schemes, the later you access your benefits in life, the better for you. Because you get to enjoy a lot of benefits, especially tax advantages. Now, on the cover, now this one, I said if you purchase an annuity, and because I'm not in the insurance sector, I just said briefly, if you purchase an annuity, there are two types. There's a guaranteed one and one that is not guaranteed. I don't know what's the name, I've forgotten. But in this guaranteed one, they give you number of years, 5 years. Do you want it guaranteed for 5 years, guaranteed for 10 years, or 15 years, or 20 years? So whichever period you choose has a different sum to it. And now the advantage of choosing a guarantee, we said, is that if you pick, for instance, a period of 5 years, it means they guarantee you payment of 5 years. And if something happens to you in the course of the 5 years, they will give something that is left to your dependents. But if it is not guaranteed, in case you pass on, I doubt there's anything goes back, I think you lose out, if I'm not wrong. So it is safe, mostly we say it is safe when you take a guaranteed period, so that within that period they will pay. If anything happens to you, the money, you'll have something going back to your dependents. Once it is outside the guarantee period, nothing will go back to your dependents. In fact, after you exhaust that guarantee period, they will pay you for the rest of your life, but they will not pay anything to your dependents once you pass on. So there are those nitty-gritties. You can also include your spouse. It can be a joint annuity. There are those nitty-gritties, but only an insurance company offering the product can explain to you. All right? That knowledge, I got it by virtue of being in the pension industry. So I can't really go into the details. Then I'm not an actuary. But legal, we can go into detail. But zingine kama ujui. So hapo nakubali sijui. I can't go into deeper explanations on annuities. Now, what was that? Trustees, dependents, how do they go about it? How do you go about identifying trustees? If it's a statutory scheme, if you search on the website online, you'll definitely see who are the board of trustees. Like NSSF, if you go online to NSSF website, you will see who's the chairman, who are the trustees managing the fund as at the time. If it's an organization, if you're an occupational scheme, it is your former colleagues, people you're working with who are probably elected as trustees. So if you want to know who exactly at that particular time is the trustee, you might need either to ask the service providers, they can help you, or you can still go back to one of your colleagues and ask them, who is your trustee now? They'll update you. But the service provider, and mostly the administrator, they'll give you that information. So in fact, the one person you should know is the admin. Admin is the person who's normally in charge of the scheme. So if you have any issues, any complaints, you'll always find yourself with the administrator. Is the person, nilisema ni mtu wa mkono. So huyo ndio shida zako zote zitatatuliwa. And if anything, they'll direct you, go and talk to this person. Those are the trustees, they will guide, or something along those lines. So it's very easy to identify. So when you're joining an individual pension plan, definitely it will be important for you to ask, who is the trustee? Yeah, get their address, and then from there, if you have any issue, you can always approach them. But they're almost known. They are within the industry. They are the same people, maybe offering admin. They're the same people doing custodian. It's almost the same people in the industry. So you won't get lost. And if anything, if you have any issue, if you feel like you're not being attended to properly, RBA's doors are always open. We actually on, did we put up the address for RBA at the end? Upper Hill, Raimtula Towers on 14th floor. Yeah, it's actually here. Pension-backed mortgage. This one, it depends if the financial institution, first of all, will agree. And second, and it also depends on the scheme rules of that particular scheme. I'm not very sure of scheme. I've seen a scheme where they're combining for purposes of mortgage. I have not seen one. But in the general rules, we've given the freedom to schemes to determine how they'd rather take it up. But what I know is that this product has not done very well in the market because there are certain conditions attached to it. It is a second charge. That's why I said I'm touching on a general overview, because if we go to the details, I might confuse you on day one. But if you were to do this again, which I hope CEO you can arrange, that we'll be doing these trainings time and again, not only on establishing a scheme, even when now you've joined. I hope the next time we're having a conversation, all of you will be in schemes. So now I start telling you about your rights, your responsibilities, all those things like post-retirement medical funds. You'll get the details of how to go about it. You'll get the details on how to accessing the pension-backed mortgage. But one thing I can tell you for sure, it is not a product that has been taken up because of a few challenges here and there. And that is why the purchasing of the residential came in to try and resolve the issue, because I think the pension was, the mortgage product was not doing very well. So this one for the purchasing of a residential house, it allows you to combine. You can combine your benefits to purchase one house. But now for the mortgage, that one I think it's complicated, especially because it depends on the financial institution. Yeah. If they agree, if they say you bring yours, you bring your security, we combine and say this is it's still well and good. I think it's more dependent on the financial institution. Yeah. And then negotiating gratuity, I think most of the institutions have it in their HR policies. So you'll find it's a standard rate. But if you can always attempt to negotiate for a higher figure, just like salary. You can always attempt to negotiate for a higher figure, or match it to, you can always do your research and see what is the market rate for the gratuity. So when you're being offered the job, that is the point of negotiating, not after. Once you put ink on paper, it's tricky. Then, how do you go about sending it to the retirement scheme? You identify first a retirement scheme of choice where you want the money to go. Especially, it will be an IPP because the others are for purposes of employers and the employees. So what will happen is once you've identified the scheme you want to go to, they'll give you the details of that scheme, like the account number, they'll give you a membership number or something like that. Then this you give to your finance person. Yeah? Finance person, you say, my gratuity, I want it sent to my pension scheme. So they will do their, ideally, I'm hoping they understand their tax issues, the tax applicable very well. So they will take that into consideration, the 20,000 per month. So they will deduct the tax that is applicable, and then the balance is sent to the pension scheme. So wherever you sent it, you will access it in the manner provided for in their trusted and rules. Then employee perspective. Yeah, I said it, but maybe that time ulikuwa unagawa mashamba kidogo. But what we said, From an employee, why you should save through a pension scheme? From an employee perspective, we say the tax advantages, eliminating of the old age poverty, so you have a reasonable income for your working life. You save because it will be a contingency plan in case you fall ill, like you, for instance, if somebody gets an accident, they are no longer able to go to work, they are no longer able to do what they normally do, they retire on ill health. So the money you saved will assist you during that period. Then you have something like, it avoids serious disruptions of your living standards. So if you want to maintain your living standards, remember the V8 example? You have your V8, you don't want to start dropping people with the motorbike in the village because you are not able to maintain your working life standard vis-a-vis your retirement standards. So you need to try and see how best you can, and I mentioned something to do with income replacement ratio. You make sure at least you get 70% of what you're earning today can be replicated, at least 70% of that can be replicated in your retirement, for a comfortable retirement, that is. And then safety net for loss of employment. In case you lose a job, you can access a portion of your benefits. Like the one you said, for instance, you're declared redundant or the NGO closes down. If you had money in your pension, part of that, you can access it to help you survive as you figure out what next. And then lastly, it's also financial protection to your dependents. In case something happens to you, your dependents can always take the balance of what is in the scheme. So what normally happens, as a dependent, you need to apply to the scheme that this and this person was my mother, this and this person was my father. What evidence do you have? They'll ask maybe for a death certificate, they'll ask you even maybe for your birth certificate, they'll ask you for your ID, they'll go to the records to check the nomination forms, maybe if you are nominated, things like that. Once they determine you're a beneficiary or a dependent, they'll automatically just pay. They'll compute the benefits, administrator is given instructions, they do the computation, the money is paid to your account. Or it's paid to the different accounts. You can be even 10 beneficiaries. That money can be split into 10. It's up to the trustees to decide. Okay? Yes, Wainaina? And I was told we finish at 1. Because you have another meeting, I think, after this. So I need to vamoose from here so that I give you space before.
So, first, thank you very much. I think I'm encouraged. I've learned a lot. Here it's not all lost, but if I have not done this right in the past, I think I'm encouraged. And, my interaction with the RBA is not very good in the past, because I applied a tender that didn't go yeah. But that has since changed for us. So mine is not really a question, a direct question from your presentation, because I think most questions have been captured. Mine is more of a mindset. Because I'm an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurship is a mindset. For me to take up this as a person, maybe my employees, yes, but for me to take up this, I think a lot has to be done, because I was taught by Kiyosaki one time in a book called Second Chance. That savers are losers. And these are the people who inspire me. Savers are losers. What do I mean? Why would I put money somewhere in a bank or in a skill that probably, even if I'm getting there's some interest, is an interest in money is 1%, and maybe inflation per year is 2%. So at the end of the day, I will have my money after 50 years. But in essence, I'll have lost the money. In essence, so I just need to understand how. Because again, what I've been taught is that real investment is in assets. The real wealth is in assets. If I know I have 5,000 shillings, instead of taking it to a scheme, I'd rather save it and buy a shamba. And this is very practical, because one time, 2000, like 4 years ago, a very practical example, we bought a shamba somewhere in Ondiko at 45,000 shillings. Last year in October, we sold that same shamba for around 750,000 in Ondiko. someone knows Matana, someone called Matana. I mean, today I want to say, that is point number one. I really need to know how I shift that mindset, because for me I still struggle. Why I should say a skill. Secondly, about again as an entrepreneur, there are two people. As an administrator, someone who's somewhere seated down working in an office. When you see an opportunity, what comes into their mind is, what resources do I control and how can I reduce the risk? But as an entrepreneur, the question will be, what opportunity can I capitalize on and what resources do I need? Because as an entrepreneur, it's about pursuing for opportunities beyond resources control. There's no one time I'll have resources to do a specific thing. So even when you talk about a car, for instance, I always see myself. I want to buy a car, and I might not have all the money, but having that car will challenge me to do what? To get that will, to get that. And if I don't challenge myself, so there's a thin line between all this. So I think for me, it's just a mindset, and I don't know how to change it to, but really, this is nice.
Perhaps you can have one last person because of time.
So my name is Nemo. What would you ask?
Nemo, like the one for unauthorized living.
No, Nemo.
Okay.
Yeah. So my question will come a lot around creative leaders. When I talk about creative leaders, we're talking about artists and people who generally are not in employment where you can have a skill and then you're an artist. You go for a gig, you get paid, whether from football or whatever. So you don't have like a kind of structure. And the problem is that in Kenya, the associations and using these older artists, most of them, they cannot account for our money. So it's hard for us to build trust on a scheme that is being run by most of these entities. So what can you be able to tell, and what are some of the solutions that artists, because we have seen so many artists after Moriasi mining end up into poverty because there is no proper structures to be able to make sure they can be able to either save or even sometimes invest because then have a proper way to what we call categories formal and informal employment. This is one of those people. Informal because sometimes there is no proper way to register individual as a business because I'm married, for example.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some of the maybe ways that artists can be able to make sure also get to benefit from some of these schemes?
Okay. All right. Let me take that. Podcast. Okay, keep it brief because Jed really wants me to go. Okay. All right.
Okay. Mine is very short, and mine will go in another perspective. Sababu vitu kwa fulani ni tofauti. The reason why I'm saying this is like in day out, like for example for me, the people who I serve, ni wale watu wa mama mboga, chips kibanda. So it's me that I have come here to learn about traffic benefit authorities. Maybe huyo mama ama mtu hatafika kile kiwango ya hiyo kusema. How can what advice can I give such kind of this person asirikada na future yake so that hata do anything akiwa mzee? How can I talk to such kind of a person, advising
retirement benefit authority. Like retirement benefit saving ama save kwa uzeeni wake. Because maybe wengine our savings are safe and they don't know about this stuff. How can we relate this information to those people? Basically, people who live in formal sector, how can we relate this? Like, when come and come out, how can I talk to them and I'm my daily basis talking to them?
Okay, thanks, Bonnie. How to talk to them is, I don't know, it depends with your talking skills, number one. Okay, secondly, that was on a light note. I think it's just to relate, it's just to give them practical examples. The way you are here today, we've talked about matters about practical things that happen in our day-to-day, isn't it? So whatever knowledge you pick today is the same knowledge. You find a way to impact the same knowledge to them in a manner they can relate to. Okay. Then secondly, from the RBA perspective, we actually have days when we actually go to the markets, we go to do CSR activities where we get now to relate even with the Mamba Bogas, Watachakali and all those people, and try to pass the message in a way that you break it down for them to understand that it's important for them to save. And then thirdly, you remember there's some time back where there was this scheme called Mbuvi Mention. It still exists. It really tried to pick, it was targeting the informal sector. So, and because it was 20 bob a day, somebody could easily relate with contributing 20 shillings a day. Then you telling them, utakuwa 500. But you see, if they faithfully contribute that 20 shillings, because to them they can relate to the 20 shillings, at the end of the month they've contributed almost about 600 shillings. But if you told them today, you pay 600, so it's just a way, trying to find a way to speak to them a language they can relate to. So telling them you need to save. Unamwambia sasa hii kazi kanjua akikuja watoi kiosk uko na mpango gani? You know. And that and also maybe just to give also some comfort is that the authority is also working on an informal sector pension scheme in conjunction with the Treasury and World Bank. So something in the informal sector will be unveiled, I believe, in the course of this year. I think it should be a game changer for the informal sector. So it's something in, can you say, work in progress. So I want to tie it with what Wainaina was saying. First, I'm not a financial advisor, so I cannot even advise you on finances. I personally need one. But let me tell you, there's no time. When you have the money, it will always you'll have a reason to spend it, isn't it? And I'm not telling you that if you save to, I'm not telling you that you should, how do I put this? Let me find the right sentence to start with. Money always has a purpose, isn't it? You have a business, you're looking at it from a business perspective. That instead of investing this money, so I just buy another machine. I continue doing my biashara, it will grow. Or I open another branch in Kericho, it grows, you know. That money is the active money, the one you're using for the business. What we're telling you to save is, we are telling you it's like a backup plan. In case all the money that you've invested, or you've put money in an investment, and that investment fails you, where will you start? You said, and you said it very well, you would rather take the 5,000, you save it to buy land, but you're still saving. Even in the pension scheme, you can still save with the purpose that in future, if anything happens, or if I still have the money, then at the point of withdrawing it, I will use it to invest in a particular ABCD. Money will always have an everyday purpose. So if you say instead of saving 5,000, let me use it for investment. The question you need to ask yourself, what is this investment fails? What if my business doesn't pick up? What if somebody steals from me? What if my system is hacked? I mean, there was somebody the other day, I saw the YouTube content creator. I saw it, I also follow Ed Gobari at some point. I saw the YouTube lost about 106K followers. And I don't know whether it's the YouTube account was shut. I don't understand those issues. I'm feeling a bit old school, but I'm still under 35. So Point being, you can imagine that was maybe her bread and butter. She has grown subscribers up to 100,000 plus, and then all of a sudden it shut down. She has to start again from scratch. Probably her main money she was getting from YouTube. She had already done all the content. She had done everything, like she was already set. All she just had to do is continue getting subscribers, maybe had a target million to increase the income that is coming. Then one morning you wake up, it is shut down. If she has never saved 1 shilling aside, just setting money aside, it is, can I say, it is a contingency plan. You have money for business, but this one you're setting aside and saying deliberately, in case something goes wrong with my day-to-day affairs, I have somewhere to start. Yeah. So as much as maybe you're not there saying that it's a waste of time, I can put the money in money market. You can put that money there, but even that company where you're putting, what if it goes down? Yeah. So all I'm trying to say is that you'll never miss a purpose for money. You want to grow your business, you want to do all this, but remember, accidents happen. Bad things happen, even to good people. You can actually do everything by the book, but just one morning, like you remember like the Gikomba fire. Imagine you've made an investment, you've got a loan, you've done a nice shop there, you're picking things from China, Nini. Then one morning, some malicious person burns down the whole shop. So if you had not put some just kidogo money from that business aside, where do you start from? So all I want you to change your mindset and see it as a contingency plan. It's a backup. You have your plan A, you can continue in your plan A, run with it, build an empire. But just have a backup plan. If things go wrong, you have somewhere to begin. Okay? I hope maybe as maybe time goes by, you might change your mind in the process. And there's always different saving for different purposes. When the same at Sasa, now after this lesson, as now you can't drink alcohol. There's always money for alcohol, there's always money for the salon. There's money for doing this, there's money for doing that. You cannot say that now you cannot drink alcohol completely because of, actually that money, there's money for food and there's money for this other purpose. Let's not confuse the two. So there's money for saving for pension, and there's money for doing business. Business you'll continue doing. So that's what I'm saying. There's money for buying shoes, there's money for making your hair. Like, those are two different things. So you cannot say I'm not making my hair because if it's so will your hair remain shaggy because your person will you walk naked because your person will I mean, you see, money always has a different purpose, and all I'm trying to say or plead with you is that look at it as a contingency plan for your future plans. Whatever happens, at the back of your head, if anything goes wrong, you have your 500,000 somewhere, which you can start life with. Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. Nelmo, on the creative industry, by the way, I think there's a group that has approached us. They want to register a scheme for artists. And I think the idea was brilliant, even for sports persons. There's one that is coming up. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah.
There's a federation.
I think you can confirm because all the sports federations, we are currently active. So it's actually interesting that it's as if this is it's the moment.
Yes.
That, we are actively discussing the same way for sports personalities.
Yes.
Because I think we also have the same challenge as artists.
Yeah.
That you find sports personalities, you become at your prime, you have a lot of cash.
Yes.
In your old age, things go south. So we are looking at such a structure. But now what we did is, I don't know who approached who, is whether the sports federation approached RBA or RBA approached.
It is the sports federation. But we also
but now, what happened is now all the sports, we are now discussing as a uniform approach so that we can see from football to chess to swimming.
Yeah.
We have almost an umbrella. Different federations can decide different angle, but at least try to have almost an uniform. So from a sports angle.
Yeah, and I found that to be a bit, it was a brilliant idea, especially people want things they can relate to. We have several individual pension plans. In fact, most people have they don't have an excuse. Even you don't have an excuse. You can still contribute whatever you're getting at that time to that individual pension plan. But the fact that if they are to with that scheme. They will feel more at home, they will feel more in charge and more in control, unlike joining another one which is managed by another person. So I know the sports, they are almost actually, they're almost getting there at the time of registration. And I think there's a group that has gotten in touch with us on artists. So it's something that we might also consider for purposes of getting the artists together. They have a common cause. They can, if you're to go with that particular scheme, let's say this is for sports people, I mean, it will include so many people. You have athletes, you have footballers, you have rugby players, chess people. I mean, they have one thing in common. So even when you're going to talk to them, you can relate with the topics that you're talking to them. You can relate with the category of people you're talking to. The same way, if the artists now, if they go through with what they have already come up with, that proposal, it will also be good for artists. The DJs will come in, musicians, all those people. You can relate. So one time you're having an AGM, you're meeting several artists, and even somebody who's giving you a speech or a training, they will train you along the lines of artists, you know. So I think artists and sports people are almost the same, only that in different fields, but something is also coming up for artists. But in the meantime, nothing stops you from making a sole contribution. Today you go for a gig, you make 10,000, take 5, you send to an individual pension plan. You make your 30K, you say, deliberately take 10,000, put it in a pension plan. They will not stop you. Individual pension plans are very flexible. In fact, most of them have slip and M-Pesa numbers, where you just pay bill, you deposit your money. Yeah. Yeah. And that is why, if you are, okay, for IPPs they're flexible, but if you had that IPP for artists succeed, now you see you are in charge of the rules. You can custom make the rules to suit the category of people you're dealing with. So your rules will allow you not to only contribute monthly, but you see the bottom line you're told, try and contribute monthly, but rules will allow you even to contribute daily. Rules can allow you to contribute daily if you wish. Rules can allow you to contribute a very huge lump sum of money at once, because you've gotten, you know, in your income out of sports, you get 40 million today. The next minute, the next 1 year, you're not getting any income. So going by the rules of the scheme, that can still be accommodated. It is in the nature of the job. We are so used to, even from RBA perspective, we are trying to be a bit flexible to accommodate the other sectors which do not have regular income. You know, the normal traditional way was monthly, you pay pesa. But there are people who make, mama bogas make pesa daily. Yeah? Like you said, sports and artists make money one-off. Sometimes good seasons, when they're in season. Sometimes it's a good season, sometimes it's a bad season. So even from the regular perspective, we are trying to be open to such, because at the end of the day, what we want you is to have that contingency plan in place. So that when you make your 5 million this month, worst case scenario come next year, you don't get a gig the entire year, then at least you have a backup plan. Yeah? You can go and the scheme can always give you a portion of the money. Yeah. So that you can set yourself up, doing something else. So even from a regulatory perspective, we are trying to be as accommodating as we can. Because we've realized it's not only informal ways you can save money. Even the informal people can find a way to save in their fluctuating circumstances. Yeah. All right, any other question? Are you now ready for retirement savings? Are you going to save? How many of, I mean, the last time I checked, we only 4 people had retirement schemes. How many of you are going to join retirement schemes? And I'll hold you to your word, by the way. I know Youth Agenda Kahoot of 2020. All right. So Esther, you're not going to join. You're waiting for.
Eh? I'll join officially, though I save as well.
Yeah, but saving the pension,
yeah,
because of the tax advantages. Take advantage of when the government is telling you this is tax free. kimbilia haraka sana. Those opportunities don't just come. I was just looking at my payslip the other day. I'm comparing the salary in December and the one in January. They don't make sense because of the 5% pay that we got. When you look at the 30 and the 25, trust me, the difference is very big. It hurts. Yeah, but you know, you have to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Yeah. Any other question? So my contacts are there. If you have any challenges, you can always get in touch with me. Call during official hours. Yes. Avoid calling during weekends unless it's an emergency. Sindio? But my numbers are there. Email, you can drop anytime. If you need more information, I can always share more information. Sindio? But as I leave, how many of you are married? Quite a number. Okay, how many of you are cohabiting? Jen, we can take care of. No, okay, I asked specifically married. Do you feel let me ask, do you guys feel like you're ready for retirement? If somebody told you to retire today, are you ready? Why do you think, oh yes, Kevin? You're ready? You're ready? Okay. It's a good thing to know there's somebody ready. That's why I'm not to focus. That is married. Two good things. Of course, you're not ready. No. What is stopping you from being ready? See, no, because in the interest of time, I would have asked more questions, but in the interest of time, I want you to picture this scenario, Mr. CEO, today. I know you are a trainer, consultant. So today, I will be that consultant. Now, imagine a scenario where you're working and your wife is working. Isn't that normal? There's income, isn't it? Right. So there's no issue. Sindio? No, no, not those kind of issues. But I'm saying, in terms of income-wise, there is money coming in. She's working, she's bringing in some resources. You're working, you're bringing in some resources. Sindio? Life continues. Now, you reach a situation where your wife has retired and you are working. Is there an issue with that kind of scenario? Which one?
Depending on how she managed herself.
Mm-hmm.
Manage herself, able to have some things may go on, but if she did, then she increases dependency
on you, isn't it? But you are the provider, but you guys were created to be providers.
Who said so?
So the arrangement is not so unique. I mean, what I'm trying to, the point is the arrangement is not so unique. We do have your wife, you're at home, you've decided you want to be a working at home mom, you want to be a stay-at-home mom. The husband brings in the resources, yours is to make sure he's comfortable, he's eaten, kids are well taken care of. There is nothing weird about that scenario. It's an everyday, and I think very many families in Kenya, especially during our parents' time, were in that kind of scenario. Then you have a situation where husband retires, wife is still working. Now, imagine you have retired. Your wife is still working. I'm assuming by that time your kids have already left the house. It's just you and your wife. And then you drop her maybe to work. You still have your car, of course, isn't it? You drop her off to work. She tells you, assuming like, no, if you're working for RBA, maybe I'm going to train people in Mombasa. Tell you we are going for Mombasa for 1 week. Is that a problem?
in the male chauvinistic.
I tell you now. I'm going for work 1 week. I go for Mombasa. I come back. I stay 2 days. I'm going to Kisumu next week. See, I'm working. It's part of my job. I'm doing it as my job. Senior. Let me tell you.
The man is still providing, isn't it?
The man is retired. Yeah, he's got a pension, and I'm going to pension. Senior. So let me tell you, those retirement. What my point that I want to pass across, and I've not finished, is that retirement is not just about money. You also have to prepare for circumstances. A scenario where your wife is working and you're at home as the husband, of course conflict will begin. First of all, you want to watch football. In this house, we are used to watching soap operas. That becomes a problem. Number two, I go to work, I leave you with food. I come and find all your utensils dirty, waiting for me. At 6, I'm arriving at 6 or 7, I'm coming from work, I'm tired. Your lovely husband has been sitting all day changing channels. Let me tell you, conflict begins. And those are the circumstances that you actually never sit down to think about. It's not just about the money. So, and then, so even for a woman, you start, how do you deal with this retired man? Because insecurities also increase. You're going to Mombasa, oh, who are you going with? Maybe it's just purely it could be work, truly, genuinely. But your husband will start feeling insecure because it looks like you're either going with your bosses, or you're wearing something, it's too tight. Now he's noticing that your skirt is always too short or too tight. Before, the same skirt, he didn't have a problem. But now because he's retired, he has a lot of time in his hands. He's starting to bring problems. Now, the one that will bring you more problems is when now husband and wife have retired at the same time. Let me tell you, make sure your wife is your friend, first and foremost. No, even if you've married your enemy, just be friends. And then, how many, do you know this corona taught us a lot of things? Most men never used to go home as early as 7. But when there was curfew, they had no choice but to be home. That is when, the curfew related to retirement. After that, you curfew at go retirement una mahali ya kuenda. For instance, seme tu ama hujajipanga tu vizuri ama you've gone back to your village house. Umehama. We are looking at a give or take scenario where you're not still in Nairobi. Most people actually don't retire in Nairobi. Most people. Once your retirement hits, village. First of all, when you're working as CEO, you never talk to those village guys. You were never friends. Now you've gone back to the village. You're alone. You don't have friends. The friends you used to walk around with V8s and Range Rover, they've also gone to their villages. So you're left in a scenario where you don't have friends, or your engagements are not anywhere in your village. You don't have anything to do. Yes, class manenos. Then you and your wife have retired at the same time. So you are together. You are not used to staying with each other 24/7. Do you know when you stay indoors with somebody, let's say husband, I'm not married, yes, but still, staying with somebody 24/7, a whole day, a whole night, for 2 days, 3 days, then that is the time you start realizing it's like you're two strangers in that house. Because when you were working, mostly 8-5, you are busy, you are all busy. So many things didn't bother you because your mind is thinking, I should be in this meeting, I should run here, I need to come and open this ceremony, I need to be here. So many things didn't occur to you. Your wife comes home tired, you are together for just a few hours. In the morning, now, here is a situation where both of you are just here. That is when you discover you're two strangers in one house. You've been strangers actually for all those years, probably. That is if your wife is not your friend. That is when you realize you didn't even know what she liked doing. You have nothing in common because you never used to hang out with them. You always hanging out with your friends in the bars. You've never hung out with your wife. You don't know what or you used to hang out maybe on Sundays only. Yeah. So you realize you don't know things that she doesn't like. She doesn't like when you throw socks on the floor. She doesn't like when you're just, I mean, you will realize you're two strangers in one house. And trust me, that retirement will be a long one. All we are saying, and in this, and then also you realize you have nothing in common. She likes chess, you like football. So you can't even play chess together. No, you like hanging out, her, she's an introvert, she likes watching movies. And this is the person you're stuck with for the rest of your life. all I'm saying with that said, retirement is not just about money. Also plan for the circumstances. Be very close to your family. Family is all you have. When you retire, you will retire home to your family. So as you go about doing your business, make sure you're close with the people around you, you're close to the villagers. When you go nyumbani kana kunywa busa, pick a story of village. Because those are the people who will also help you even mentally. When you retire and you have to go back to the village. So they will, I mean, you have people to go and sit and storytell with. Like sasa ukishajiweka class huko unaongelesha. Na sasa hiyo ndio wanakuangalia. In fact, your mental health can deteriorate very fast. So with that said, I hope I've made an impact to you today. And I wish you all the best. I'm looking forward to the next meeting where all of you are in pension scheme. And now we are discussing matters about membership in a pension scheme. Kwa hayo mengi nimesema, nimeshukuru sana kwa kunisikiliza and for paying attention to what I have to bring to you today. Asanteni sana.
Retirement iko mbali are now convinced that they need to save for retirement as early as yesterday. Yes, we usually have these forums, like she mentioned. We have retirement planning seminars. Initially, we used to have pre-retirement, but we realized we were talking to people already when it was too late, because we used to target people who are 55 years. Then we'd go and sensitize them. They're like, why didn't you tell me when I was 20, when I just started working? So we changed that to retirement planning, and those seminars target people who are in employment. We start training people who are as young as you, even younger, like 22, those who just graduated and now they're in employment. So we usually have those in different counties. Even in Nairobi, we have quite a number. So once we guide you through the process of setting up a scheme, we'd be very happy if you invited us to come and sensitize your staff. It's usually free of charge. Or we can come to wherever you are, or we invite you to a forum like this from different organizations so that you can also mingle and see what other people are doing. So, karibuni sana. You'll have our email address in case you need to make any inquiries about retirement planning or anything to do with pension. So, right now, we'd like to break for lunch, but Jed mentioned to me that he'd like to have you around for a few minutes. I hope I gave everyone a voucher. Mwenye hana atanielezea tu. The lunch, if you look at this, it says it's at Traveler's Restaurant. It's not there. It's going to be, there's a room outside where you're having tea. It's called Ivory. So once you're done, tutaenda huko lunch. Wanaanza kuserve from 2. I mean, like 2 is the latest time we can go. So Jed, I'll give you a few minutes. Mukimaliza. Sisi now, I think we can close it up from the RBA side. And we look forward to hearing from you. Oh, sorry, those feedback forms I placed on your desk, please try and fill up as much information as you can, because those recommendations you give us, that's what we use to grow the sector. So andika as much as you can. Nitakuja kuchukua, or rather, Jed, so unaweza kunipatia hizo forms ukimaliza?
Yes, absolutely.
Asante sana, karibuni, enjoy your lunch.
Just present.
Hi guys, once more. Najua, you know, like there's usually that graph. I think the sigmoid or that graph. Nenda, then it dives. So I know right now is the time that it's quite later on, and the guys have actually sharpened their appetites.
So from the top 35
is that we're very happy, we're very privileged to actually have walked this journey with you. I know we commenced the journey to sometime last year in March, then April, and right now we're here. We're just about to click 365 days. And we've actually interacted with you at length. So some of you have not maybe known each other, but we're looking forward to, we as young people, working together, collaborating, so that we ensure that we get this nation and this continent to the next level. So we are now planning, gearing up for the 2021 edition. At the same time, we're also at the home stretch of the 2020 cohort. So within the next few months, we'll be inaugurating the mentor-mentee program, whereby we look forward to you getting other young people that you can mentor within the next 3 months. So that program might begin sometime in April. More details will be shared. And just bear with us, because the way we are doing it, we are actually using a model that is going to accommodate the unpredictability, the blue ocean strategy, and the effectuation model. So things will just be moving wakipole until we get very solid initiative. The other thing is that we also look forward to getting more certified partners like RBA, the way they've already mentioned. It's a series of trainings, and even this one, we are in talks with them so that we can see how we can get it certified, and then we are going to even take you through more, and youth agenda is going to be at the helm of that. Finally, as we plan for the 2021 edition, we are going to involve you fully, because this is your baby. It will not have happened without you. So some of you have actually been on our necks. They will want to become judges. They will want to sponsor. They will want to do this and that. They will want to contribute in various measures. So the door is very open. Our office is also, it has an open door policy. So anytime you feel like you need to poke any hole about Top 35, if you need to critique it positively, the door is always open. And then now, even today, we will also come along with the certificates for those ones who had not received the certificates. And then also our CEO will also share with you the recommendation letters, which are also here. So without much further ado, we'll be networking more, we'll be talking more, and we've been privileged to at least have a plate on our table. You know, Jesus used to born people using food, and food has a really great significance. So at least we have a plate, and we're going to talk more, and we'll collaborate more and make sure that we have a great country, great continent. I thank you very much, and we look forward to ensuring that we make the youth factor count. My senior, our captain, kindly welcome to close for us.
Once again, I have the pleasure to say hi to you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And before I say my name, start asking my youth agenda team to rise so that you just appreciate them. The youth agenda team, just rise up. As a team. team of amazing young men. Sometimes as CEOs, when you're given opportunities, you're told to go and speak, and you forget that it's not you, it's the people that make you. So these are the people that make the youth agenda. Let's give them hearty claps. Some of them did not sleep today, and some of them never sleep at all. They work through the night. Thank you so much, colleagues. I really appreciate you. Oh, who should join them? It's default. Just by default. So get time also to know them and interact with them. We must not be CEO forever. There could be another emerging CEO from one of them. So take good connection with them. So please, thank you so much, colleagues. On a second note, there are the certificates and recommendation letters which we did for you, introducing you to your governors. Jen, please, once you're ready, let me know so that we can officially hand them over. It would be good to have photo sessions as we give those letters. It's been a good session, and I've always told you guys, me, I'm ready for retirement. It will not shock me. I'm also, think when I get to 35, I'll be ready for death. Because I think there's nothing much that I need to do. If it is serving, I have done. If it is influencing, God has given me the chance. If it is breaking some historical things that were placed on my family, I've broken most of them. If it is to travel, God has been good to me to travel. If it's, to test whatsoever should be tested, I've eaten as far as a crocodile, so I don't know what else I should eat. If it is also to be blessed by people who have come through my hands and support, I can't count, including yourselves and the people you are going to impact. So I think I'm ready. There is nothing more to achieve. Maybe if you want to make me president, then maybe if that's the thing, like Joe Biden, but I don't aspire to. So I think God has been so good to us, and we need to appreciate and be ready for anything that is there that we must pass through as human beings in life. I am very happy that somebody said, example, I am married to Richard. And somebody said that, example, want to put me in a WhatsApp group for contribution. Yeah. So it will also be good to hear that there is a marriage coming out of this cohort, and that we are invited as a youth agenda to go there. That one I will not refuse. I will accept with immediate effect. Secondly, we are also wishing that as we go to the elections, we will see Kemone on the ballot box. We will see Ephraim positioning for a CEC position where he is. We will see Okor battling to win a very big tender at the ministry when Diana will be the CS for ICT. Yeah? We will see Joreen having a manufacturing company. I think you started it. Kemone linking her with the international markets through the Chamber of Commerce. We're also hopeful to see Nelmo flying the banner of advocacy for, young women to school, continuing to grow. Yeah, I may not mention everybody, but we would also be happy to see Veneranda visiting Esther and asking her, what do you do? We'd also wish to see those selfies. And let us network, let us do a community activity, invite us to support you to, mobilize sanitary towels or dignity kits, I'm told they're called like that, to distribute to them, to what he's doing. It course, we are an email away from you. We are phone calls away from you. WhatsApp away from you. Whenever you have a request that we can actually fulfill, when we are in these opportunities of leadership, for me, I'll be willing to do it. As long as we are not going to kill somebody or, put people into problems. So I know in the short time, we have been a blessing to many of us, and we will continue to do it, continue to support you to ensure that the brand of Top 35 goes on. Finally, we gave you a sachet, and we also gave you a trophy. Please, don't keep quiet with those things. We came from the side to that side. We can say so. The sachet that you have can actually allow you to work in some of these offices without question. If you don't know, it's a serious brand. And for your information, has anyone tried to question the authenticity of your word? Not at all. So you can imagine the authenticity that you have. You are an authority in your space. So use it. We would want to see you. Wendy, thank you so much for always shining our brand. Diana, Winnie one day disappointed me. Today she has disappointed me. But I know she will improve. So I think we will continue to work together to encourage you and to support you where we can. We are going to launch the report for 2020 as well as the stories which you sent us in the form of a magazine. So if you've not sent us, I think we have told you, we have reminded you, and we cannot continue waiting for you. The only thing we need to do is to go forward, because we are having the Top 35-21 Cohort 2 coming, and the interest around it are so much, it may be overwhelming for us to still continue thinking about the things of the past. So let's try to do what we can. Let's prepare to be judges. Let's prepare to be mentors. And like Jen said, our mentorship model is not like, even what we are doing now, we don't really like it. We would want a more organic way of mentorship. There's a way Kimone talks, and Boniface doesn't talk like that. Ephraim doesn't talk like that. But as you continue to interact, you realize that there's something I need that Kimone has that can make me be a better Diana. The proposals we are throwing for you in the group, let's know if you also want to link with us to jointly write or write with your colleagues. Yeah, that is the mentorship that I believe in. Working together, learning, sharing, expressing success, express also challenges. I mean, you're not always celebrating all the time. Let's know when there's a problem. Let's know when we also need to step in as a team, as friends, as the youth agenda. So with those many remarks, I would wish to stop there. And I don't know, I want to imagine no one has a question for me, because we can always stop there. But I want to give this certificate one to Kemone. The challenge is you somehow have to be in the mask. Come here so that the burner. So, Kimone, his certificate was done, but we misspelled it, so we did anyone for him. So let's clap for Kimone. Congratulations. Done? Thank you. You can show off if you want. And then there are the recommendation letters. Is there any other certificate? Recommendation letters.
mentoring.
Yeah. For us, if we get to know you're working on some new reports and bootcamps, so you may get great certificates. So, Nelbo Mbuvi, we are introducing you to the Nairobi County government. Please complete your letter. We have you can go to it's called NMS. Maybe you Miss Wendy Omaka, I written to your governor son.
Anything else?
Like we don't utilize
She's
ourselves.
Actually an example of how to use this.
That's nice, Winnie.
Yes, Igor Manana.
You're here, we come.
Yes, after I was in Jesus. Makofi. Moriasi. When you go to the offices, go with the sachet.
Yeah.
It will allow you to get it. Congratulations.
Oh, yes.
I like the Mwenza.
Congratulations to you. Government County. We also have this is A. Amanda. Simon Mako. And I encourage you, those who are in Nairobi, you could even go as a team. Congratulations. The coffee is also going to Nairobi. So I think you should go to another country. Diana, you have received so many awards. Let's clap for Diana.
Thank you.
And we're introducing her to yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. James Kangaru. They are saying that you have been so much on the newspaper than anyone.
Yeah.
Usiaibike by the way. Kuna newspaper yako huko anatamani tu hiyo sachet. I went the other way. Yeah. So, congratulations. Thank you so much. Keep up. We need more young people in sports. Thank you. came to the Youth Employment Conference, and she did marvelous. Yes, Veranda Kuboka. Veranda is having an activity in Kakamega. Maybe as you come, I'll give you a chance to talk about it. We invite his fellow champions to join you. So first of all, Siri, congratulations. Big one, Kobe.
Hi everyone. I wasn't able to come in good time. I didn't sleep very well. I'm actually unwell, but I said I have to come. My name is Veneranda Rebecca Kuboka. I am a psychologist and also the founder of a community-based organization called Youth Changes Kenya. Very passionate about sexual and reproductive health and rights, mental health, and gender. I've organized a soccer for wellness tournament in Kakamega for girls aged 12 to 19 years. And we'll be having around 45 girls, and psychologists will be offering mental wellness support to them. It's going to be on the 6th of February in Kakamega. So in case there's anyone who would love to join me or give any form of support, that would be appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Everyone can come.
Thank you. So, yeah, Kimona. Makofi kwa
yeah, we are going to get. Yeah.
You might call me.
That you may steal ideas.
So, with all this success that we've achieved at this point, we want to say thank you to ourselves and also thank you to the Almighty for granting us this opportunity. As we've started in January, I'm looking forward to more meetings of me and the colleagues meeting you and you inviting us in your activities and what you're doing on the ground. In case you have a challenge in meeting your governor and we are able to get the contacts, let's know so that we can also communicate to them, for them to appreciate you. Allow me to pray for us as we go for the tea, for the lunch, and of course, open for photo. If you want a group photo, is it necessary? At the back, Thomas will coordinate, and then let's take as many group photos, as many selfies as possible, and interact, exchange contacts. Let's pray. Almighty Lord, we thank you, Father, for this wonderful day of 2021 in the month of January. We give thanks to you because, Lord, we are not so special. We are not unique. We are not the brightest. We are not the only favored of God, but we are loved by you. We thank you for this opportunity that you gave us as young people to be leaders in our different spheres and also to impact the lives of our fellow Kenyans with the opportunities that you have given us. We ask you, Lord, to stretch your hand of blessing upon us and to give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and courage in everything that we do so that we can proceed on to deliver the mandate that you gave us on this earth. Help us, Lord, to have favor from the people that you have also bestowed in other offices or other positions that we may need or we do need, that, Lord, they shall listen to us. They shall give us an opportunity for us to express ourselves to them and also work with us in the plans that we have for this year. Lord, we thank you that we are healthy, and we ask you, Lord, to continue protecting us this year and help us as a country to combat and even the world to combat the challenges of COVID-19. And that, Lord, we will continue to have opportunity to continuously do the work that you made us to do unto this world. We ask you, Lord, to open the doors of donors, partners, and friends to enjoy our vision and enjoy our activities that we have planned to do in the initiatives that you have bestowed on us. Lord, as we are parting, we seek of your guidance, that
bless the meal that is before us. We also seek that, Lord, you guide us in our journey mercies as we go back to our areas where we came from, and that, Lord, we shall be happy and thank you to bless you for the goodness that you've done to us. I pray trusting and believing in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Sawa, kwaheri.
All right. So we'll just